Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the ASA ABLOY presentation, virtual instructor-led Sargent Distributor Training, day number 1 of 2. My name is Tom Seidel. I'll be your lead instructor today. I've been in the industry for a few years, working as a distributor and then as a manufacturer's rep for Corbin Russwin, Sargent, Yale, and ASA ABLOY. I've been a spec writer, I've been a distributor, I've been a distributor rep, I've done a little bit of everything. Joined the training department about 5 years ago and conduct classes like this both in person and now virtually online. Today we're going to spend about 4 hours. We're going to take a break after each hour to give everybody a chance to stretch a little bit. We will break for an hour for lunch as well. There will be time at the end of the day for questions and answers. We operate this class a little bit differently than we do our other virtual instructor-led training. You will be able to unmute your own phone and ask questions in real time. We like to make sure that this is a little bit more interactive than the other sessions. If you have a question, you can just unmute yourself and ask the question, or you can use the Q&A, the question and answer section of the webinar. You can type in the questions as well if you don't want to speak in front of the group. We will have certificates of completion for this because it is on the ASA ABLOY Academy. You are ASA ABLOY Academy students. There are about 50 online courses that are available free of charge to you as an Academy student and as a customer of ASA ABLOY. We also have several virtual instructor-led trainings that are scheduled, updated every 2 weeks. They're also free of charge. Those ones are not on the Academy, but this one is, so you will be able to get your certificate of completion at the end. Give me a second while I start to unmute everyone. And we will get started.
Just was gecheckt mit sei.
Okay, remember you are unmuted, so if you're not speaking to the class, go ahead and mute yourself. All right, the first thing, safety first. If you have to leave for any reason, any emergency pops up, do what you have to do. Take care of business. Again, unmute yourself to talk. Mute yourself when you're not speaking. If something really bad happens and we drop off, we will figure out how to reschedule and get everybody back online. The agenda. This morning, we're going to talk about Sargent as a company. We're going to talk about the history of the company, the products that they manufacture, go through the nomenclature overview a little bit, and we're going to jump into the mortise locks. Talking about features and benefits, we will go through some part number streams and show you how to do some pricing exercises so you can price and order the products. Then we will talk about tools that we have that make it easy to do business with ASA ABLOY. We're also going to talk about how to avoid delays in your orders, things that you can do and checklists that you can follow to make sure that you get the product. We will break. When we come back from break, we will then hit on the cylindrical locks, overview of the different series of cylindrical locks that Sargent manufactures. We'll go through the part numbers. We'll do some pricing exercises on those. The second half of this afternoon, we will start talking about Sargent's cylinders, cores, and key system offerings. We will go through how to order key systems. We'll have a little bit of time at the end for question and answer. Then we will break for the day, and when we come back on Thursday, we will start talking about the exit device products, part numbers, pricing, exercises. We'll talk about Sargent's multi-point locks availabilities, and then we will do a brief overview on the access control products that Sargent offers. The second half of day number 2, we will get into door closers, part numbers, pricing. We will also do the auxiliary locks as well as our behavioral health products. We'll recap everything that we've done, and we'll try to answer any questions that are still outstanding. ASSA ABLOY's manufacturing location for Sargent is in New Haven, Connecticut. This houses the manufacturing for Sargent as well as our corporate offices for ASSA ABLOY DSS. We also have an academy training center in this building. If you get a chance, we invite you to come up and take a class. Russell Corvo leads the majority of the classes in that location, as well as our Berlin, Connecticut location, and there's nobody better. We'll talk a little bit about Sargent. They date back into the early 1800s, 1810s. Joseph Sargent and his brothers entered into a hardware business in New York City. They were a supplier, a distributor. Shortly after that, they acquired, maintained owner interest in a company called Peck and Walter in New Britain, Connecticut. That was one of their largest manufacturers that they carried. They became the full owners of Peck and Walter, became Sargent Manufacturing Company, and they moved the factory to New Haven in 1864. Growth continued. They expanded their product offerings to include hand tools, and during World War I and World War II, they actually converted production into manufacturing products needed for the war efforts. And post-war, the decision was made to narrow the product offerings and concentrate on architectural hardware. The move to the current location of 110 Sargent Drive in New Haven was done in 1964. If you go on a factory tour in Connecticut, they will talk about Operation Stone's Throw. They literally moved the factory about a quarter of a mile. And what that did is it allowed for the construction of Interstate 95 to come through New Haven. And they've been in that present location since 1964. And Sargent has been owned by various companies, one being notably is Kidde, K-I-D-D-E. You might know them for the fire extinguishers. And over the years, they were owned by several different groups until 1996, when Sargent and their sister companies were acquired by ASSA ABLOY, which gave them the support of a global, worldwide hardware brand. And Sargent at that time was part of Essex Industries. Essex consisted of Sargent, Curry's, which is a hollow metal manufacturer, McKinney, which was a hinge manufacturer, as well as Graham wood doors. They were all absorbed into ASSA ABLOY. And the beauty of being owned by a company like ASSA ABLOY is they are in the hardware and security business, and that's all they do. And they have invested a lot of money and resources into the company to improve. This is what Sargent makes. We have 6 different product families: board locks, mortise locks, exit devices, door closers, cylinders, and access control products. Each one of these groups is broken into what's called a profit center, which is basically a factory within a factory. Each center has its own engineering as well as management, buying, and tech reps that are all involved in their own product series. The building itself is about 325,000 square foot of manufacturing. And of the 6 product families that you're seeing, 5 of them are manufactured and assembled in New Haven, Connecticut. The one exception being the door closers. Sargent's door closers are manufactured in Assa Abloy, Monroe, North Carolina, as well as one or two series are actually imported from Europe. Sargent is very big on above and beyond testing. When we tell you that our products are quality, we want to make sure that we not only meet, but we exceed the industry requirements and standards. As we go through each product series, we will talk about ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, as well as BHMA, the Builders Hardware Manufacturers Association. And those entities determine what level of quality, what level of durability products need to be graded for industrial versus commercial versus residential type products. And I'll note here our exit devices, our 8800 series exit devices, which is our rim, has been tested over 54 million cycles. To be ANSI grade 1, it's 500,000 cycles. Our 8200 mortise lock has been tested over 14 million cycles. To be grade 1, it is 1 million cycles. So these tests are not tests that were done by Assa Abloy in private. These have all been verified by an independent third party. This information is available on our website. If it's important to an owner, we can give you that third party documentation on paper that will allow you to go and talk to the competitors and make sure that they can meet the standards. If the owner wants a Sargent exit device because of the durability, then if somebody wants to bid into that project, they have to provide the same durability and the proof that they've come to that. So let's talk about Sargent nomenclature next. Sargent nomenclature can be daunting if you don't know the layout. So all products that Sargent manufactures, the first two digits will tell you the type of product that it is. The series of the product. In our mortise locks, we have four different: the 7800 series, the 7900 series, the 8200 series, and the 9200 series. The next two digits will tell you the function of the lock. And with our lock sets, the function numbers are basically the same through all lock series. So if you look, we have several different board locks. We have our 6 line, our 6500 line, our 7 line, our 8X line, our 10, our 11, and our DL line. So all those functions, if it's a passage function, it's going to be the same number through every mortise lock and through every board lock. We have a series of deadlock products, a series of padlocks. When we get into the exit devices, we have 4 series of exit devices: the 20, the 30, the 80, and the 90. And looking at the first digit, that will tell you the series. The second digit will tell you the mounting style as well as the style width. When you look at door closers, we have several different series there, and the nomenclature will tell you the series of the product. And everything else, the mounts and the arm types, will be done with either a prefix or a suffix after the product. It's very easy once you get to learn. All of Sargent's options are done in a prefix. So the part number stream, you'll see a couple letters, a couple numbers, and a dash, then your series, then your function, then your trim. So again, our part number series for exits and lock sets, it starts with the options, then the series, then the function, and then the trim. Exit devices, series, mounting style and width. The width of the mount, not the width of the device. Then the function, and then the trim. The trim is specified as part of the product number. Then any options would be prefix. Part numbers for door closers start with the series, then the arm type, and then if it's sized. Options are added by prefix. So the example I'm showing you here of the cylindrical lock at the top is a 28-10G05LL. The 28 is an option. It happens to be a 4 7/8 ANSI strike. The 10G tells us that it is a 10 series or 10 line cylindrical lock grade 1. The G tells us it's a guarded latch. 05 is an entrance function. LL is the lever trim, as well as the rose. The rose is listed first, and then the lever. On the exit device sample that we have an 8813 ETL. The first 8 tells you it's an 80 series device. The second 8 tells us it's a rim mount for a wide style exit device. The 13 tells us it's a classroom/entry type function. And ETL is the trim. ET, exit trim. L is an L type lever. Looking at the door closer, we have a 281 P9. The 281 tells us that it's Sargent's grade 1 1.5" diameter cast iron door closer. P9 tells us it's a parallel arm. The part numbers are very easy. They all kind of follow the same rules. Standard function numbers throughout the product. Looking at some basic functions here: passage, privacy, entrance, classroom, storeroom. They're basic functions. The passage, free ingress, free egress. Privacy would be a bathroom type lock. Entrance would have a key on the outside and a thumb turn on the inside, where you could lock and unlock the outside lever. You can always get out from the inside. The normal classroom has a cylinder on the outside, and it's free egress from the inside. The cylinder on the outside locks and unlocks the outside lever. When we look at the storeroom function is always locked on the outside. You have to use a key to enter, but you can always get out from the inside. So looking at the function numbers, all of Sargent's cylindrical locks and mortise locks, as well as their exit devices, for a passage function on the outside would have a 15. Obviously, an exit device would not have a privacy function necessarily. So the 65 is the privacy function, like a bathroom type lock. The entrance function for Sargent is an 05. The classroom function, where the key locks and unlocks the outside, is a 37 for cylindrical and mortise locks, but that changes to a 13 for exit device trims. And the storeroom function is 04 for both cylindrical mortise as well as exit device functions. So let's jump into the mortise locks. Sargent's mortise lock series. Again, we offer 4 different series depending on the application and the type of product you're trying to do. Looking at the first 2 digits, that's the product series. It's going to be a 78, a 79, an 82, or a 92. The 8200 series lever is the most common and the most widely used of the 4 series. That's offered in 50 mechanical as well as 8 electrical functions. Let's talk about the 8200 series. The 8200 series is our top line mortise lock meant for the industrial architectural applications. It is a ANSI BHMA certified, both operational grade 1 as well as a BHMA security grade 1 when used with conventional cylinders. The lock has been tested 14 million cycles, which is 14 times ANSI BHMA requirements. This product is handed, but it is easily field rehanded. As a standard offering, we have 8 lever styles. We offer 3 knob styles in the 7800 series. There are 6 escutcheon types, as well as 4 rose types that work with those standard levers. Our high security is our 9200 series. We'll talk about those guys in a minute. 16 standard architectural finishes. One thing that Sargent does offer is the availability of custom finishes. We can do custom powder coat finishes. If you want purple levers, we can do that. There's a process. you'd have to speak with your DSS rep, but they can get you in line with that. And we also offer some custom deco levers as well. If you have a customer that wants something special, we can do that. We will talk about our deco offerings, our standard deco offerings, as well as our custom deco offerings. The 8200 series has 50 mechanical standard functions, as well as 8 electrical functions. We do offer this lock with a 10-year warranty, as well as a 2-year electromechanical warranty. And where do we see this lock in the marketplace? When we write a specification, we are very, very happy to compete in that architectural industrial market on specifications versus the Schlage L9000 series, the Stanley Best 45 series, Corbin Russwin ML 2000 series. And if you would like some comparisons between, we do offer engineering evaluations. Russell Corvo does a wonderful job of doing a fair and open comparison between products, and we will happily put ours up against anybody else out in the market. Some of the features on the 8200 series mortise lock. We have a 1/16 inch face that self-adjusts for both flat and beveled doors for handing. The lock case itself is 7/64 steel, which allows it great impact resistance. A 3/4 inch one-piece stainless steel latch bolt. The spindles themselves are spring-loaded, so they automatically adjust to the door thickness. We have heavy-duty hubs and spring cartridges on both sides of the lever. The lock is designed, again, to meet ANSI Grade 1 requirements, but it also has been tested to detention level tests, which is great for protecting against vandalism. Let's look at some of our other mortise lock series. Our 7800 is our Grade 1 knob. We have 3 different styles of knob available. 6 escutcheon, 2 roses, our 16 standard finishes, 43 mechanical functions, 10-year warranty. Again, they utilize a very similar lock body to the 8200 series. The 9200 series is our lock that is designed for high security, light detention applications. Again, it's been tested to operational grade 1 as well as security grade 1. We can also supply this lock with what they call a mogul cylinder. Mogul cylinders are the type of cylinder that you would see in detention prison type applications. It would require a special mortise lock body and a different prep on the door, but that cylinder is available. We offer this also in our behavioral health series of products, where we have some behavioral health trims that are designed for that. With this lock, we offer that in 28 mechanical functions as well as 4 electrified functions. 10-year warranty on this lock as well. Our 7900 series mortise lock. This is our heavy-duty, mid-grade mortise lock. You'll notice it has a few less mechanical functions available, still has 4 electrical functions, comes with a 5-year warranty, 2-year electromechanical warranty. We have 4 standard lever styles, 1 knob style, 2 escutcheons, 1 rose, but we also offer our deco products with this. And this is a price point type product. So when we get into those jobs that require value engineering, we have a product that will compete when we get into those negotiated jobs. Let's look at how we hand the mortise lock.
How to change mortise lock handing. Rotate the hub to unlock the locking slide.
We froze there.
Position the lock body so the red surface of the locking piece is visible. Press the tip of a blade-type screwdriver onto the locking piece slot to rotate the locking piece. Continue to push the locking piece toward the back of the lock body and rotate 180 degrees until the red surface is flush with the lock body on the opposite side. Next, insert the screwdriver blade into the spade-shaped slot and rotate 90 degrees until the latch clears the lock front. Grab the latch bolt, remove the screwdriver and rotate the latch bolt 180 degrees so the latch will automatically re-enter the lock body.
So while this lock is a handed product, it is very easy to hand in the field. But we always recommend that you order it to the proper handing. The problem that we have is, while it takes a minute or less to hand a lock, if you have 50 of them, that's a contractor that has 50 minutes of time that they had to spend rehanding a lock. And distributors, you'd have to agree with me that contractors want paid for that kind of stuff. And we're trying to help you guys avoid the hassle, so we always ask for you to order it handed. And if you send an order in for mortise locks less handing, you will probably get a delayed order notification from the factory, which we will talk about later on. Let's talk about the standard trim designs for Sargent. When we order the lock set itself, we have series, then function, and then we have to tell them the trim. Well, the first digits in the trim are always going to be the rose or the escutcheon design, and then the lever. So we're showing you the 4 standard rose designs for Sargent mortise locks and the 4 standard escutcheon designs. Actually, there's 6. The LE1, the LE2, the LE3, the LE4, the LW1, the WT. And then you would have your 8 lever designs after that. Sargent also has our Coastal series. This is our designer type trims. This was our first attempt into the decorator market, where the standard industrial levers weren't good enough for certain projects. So we have a couple different roses there. We have 2 different roses, 2 different escutcheons, and 4 levers. And these are, meant for that very high-end type work. We also have what we call roseless trim, which I'll show you a picture on the next page here. That was our first foray into it, to give you 4 different lever designs. And we realized that that market was greater than, 8 standard and 4 designer levers. So we had to come up with our studio collection. Our studio collection has, at present, 48 different lever designs, 9 different rose options, 3 different escutcheon options. And the roseless trim, if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, that shows you our roseless trim. If an owner likes the idea of the roseless trim, that lock is still through bolted through the door. The trims are still through bolted, but the rose is very small and kind of disappears behind the lever versus a larger rose. And if an owner wants that roseless type trim, there is nobody else in the industry that offers it. So that would have to be a no sub specification, which we're happy to write if that's what the owner wants. So the studio collection is also designed to suite with other hardware. ASA Abloy has a collection of products called the Good Design Studio. And we have a website that shows all the different products. So if you pick a lever, say in the Gramercy collection, where you have an insert, say it's a stainless steel handle with a black leather or black neoprene insert, you could match a decorator hinge that is designed exactly the same way. You could do drawer pulls. You could do pulls on your front doors. Your aluminum doors could have that same decorator look. You could have wall stops that are designed to coordinate with those. So we didn't just stop at the lever. We can do these decorative trims on the studio collection in exit device trims as well. And when we get into the cylindrical locks, we have a DL series of tubular that is designed to suite and coordinate with that. The idea is you can do, commercial and high-end residential multi-use type buildings, projects with the same look throughout the entire building. So let's take a look at our trims, an example of our trim styles. Here's an example of an 8237. It says LW1P. And our first digits always tell us the rosary escutcheon style. The last tells us the lever type trim. So LW1P, LW1 is our escutcheon. The P is our lever. Let's take a look at some 8200 series common functions. And the left column shows you the Sargent function numbers. The center column shows you the ANSI, the American National Standard Institute, their number, and the description of the product as we see it. And if you're converting a project between manufacturers, the best way to confirm that you have the right function is to look at that ANSI number. Every manufacturer has the ANSI function number listed somewhere in their catalog near their standard function numbers. Because if you look at the descriptions of the product, what our engineer describes a classroom security intruder type lock might be something entirely different than Schlegg's engineer, but they work the same way. So if you read the descriptions, it might not seem like the same thing, but if you look at that ANSI number, that F32 is going to be the exact same between manufacturers. So let's take a quick look at our functions here. Our standard passage function is a 15. Sargent has a couple different privacies. The 66 is the one I picked there. The entry is an 05. The storeroom function is an 04. Our standard classroom is a 37. We also have a 38 function, which is, we call it a classroom security intruder. That lock actually has two cylinders, one on the outside, one on the inside. And when you turn the cylinder on the inside, it locks and unlocks the outside lever. The inside lever is always free. So in a school lockdown scenario, the teacher would not have to open the door to lock that outside door. They could do it from the inside. The 41 function is a similar function to that, but it also includes a deadbolt. By throwing the lever, not the lever, but the key on the inside, it locks the outside lever and protrudes the deadbolt. If a student or a teacher panics and wants to get out, the inside lever would retract the deadbolt and allow you to get out, but the lever on the outside would still remain locked. And somebody had asked here on our Q&A about the Sargent multifunction lock body. Yes, Sargent does have a multifunction lock body. This was developed way back in 2004. They were the first in the industry to offer something like this. So from this standard body, you can get 8 different functions. The 04 storeroom, the 05 entry function. We have an 06, which is a storeroom / service station type function, the 13 exit latch, the 31 utility, the 36 closet, as well as the 37 classroom and the 38 classroom intruder. And the ones with the asterisk, I believe you have to possibly add different parts in it to make that body work. But the convenience of this is for stocking distributors and wholesalers, they could stock one lock body that would do all 8 of those functions and then build the lock as needed. For end users, they have the convenience and how it works. If you see the green headed screw there, the location, there's 3 different locations that screw could be placed to operate the different functions. So by moving that from location 1 to location 2, you can change 4 different functions. As long as the hub is in the right position, it shows you a little graphic of what that hub's supposed to look like whenever you move that screw and place it into the other location. And the beauty of Sargent's mortise locks is they all use the same offset cam. So you don't have to change that. With other manufacturers, possibly changing the function of the lock would require changing the cam on the back of the mortise cylinder. Looking at a quick layout of the nomenclature here. The options are always prefixes. So we're showing you a 10 dash. That's for a key system, which we will get into here in a minute. The first 2 numbers Behind the dashes are the series, the 82, 78, 79, 92. The next 2 digits would be the function. If it happens to be an electrified lock, we do ask for a voltage. We will talk about the EcoFlex technology that we use with this lock, that while it's agnostic to voltage, we do ask you for a voltage. Then we would have the trim design, the escutcheon or rose, then the lever, then the finish, then the handing. And then after that, at the end of the product stream would be any options not covered by the prefix options, being special keyways, any master keying information, things like that would all come at the end there. Notable options for the mortise lock. Again, the options are all prefixes. These would be in front of the part number stream. 36- is for Torx head screws. If you're doing a project in a public building and you don't want somebody to be able to pull out a screwdriver and easily take a lock apart, you'd have to use a special Torx head bit. That's a 36-. Knurling on the outside lever is a 76-. That would be grooved into the lever, so someone with a sight disability would feel that lever when they grabbed it, and that should indicate that there's something possibly dangerous on the other side of that opening. 3- changes our standard hubs to a stainless steel hub, which again is for durability and for vandal resistance. 74- is for a lead-wrapped case. That is if the lock is being used in a application where there would be radiation on the other side of the door, say x-ray rooms, things like that. A couple electrified options here. The LX is our latch bolt monitor that tells you whether the latch bolt is projected or retracted. The RX- is our request to exit switch, which tells you if somebody on the inside turns the lever, it signals the system that somebody's going out the door. The DX is a deadbolt monitor. And a 23- is a straight lip 4 7/8 strike. And you could specify a longer length if you wanted that. Our standard mortise lock comes with a 4 7/8 ANSI type strike. And if you wanted an 1 3/8 door thickness, that's a 1-. A couple unique features of the mortise lock. One is an option for our new design occupancy indicators. And the pictures there show you what they look like on the door. Those happen to be a sectional type trim. We do so offer that in a full escutcheon type trim. And based on this versus our competitor, it's a 25% larger viewing window than any of our competitors out there. We put a reflective coating on the printing on the inside of the indicator. It's designed with a curved window and it can be viewed from 180 degrees around. So the options for the lettering and the colors are listed there. We can also engrave the escutcheon, the one that you see at the top. Looks like it might be on the inside of a classroom security door where it's showing the teacher that it's unlocked, and there's engraved instructions on it to tell you how to turn that key in order to lock the outside lever. And these are designed to be easy retrofit to Sargent's standard mortise locks as well. Any questions to this point? Right. Let's talk about our EcoFlex technology. I hinted about that earlier. Our EcoFlex is for our electrified mortise locks, where we're doing a power lock or a power to unlock type scenario, fail safe or fail secure. Access control type locks would use something similar to this. And the traditional mortise lock uses what they call a solenoid operation. And that solenoid, you would have to order that to the correct voltage, either 12 volts or 24 volts. You would have to also order it as a fail safe or fail secure. Fail safe meaning when the power is off, the outside lever is unlocked. Fail secure meaning when the power is off, the outside lever is locked. And fail-safe applications you see on stairwell applications in high-rise buildings where you need, in an emergency, to be able to get back in. And the problem with a traditional solenoid lock is if you're powering that lock all the time to keep it locked, heat builds up with a solenoid. And that heat can be detrimental to the solenoid as well as other electronic components. And that is one of the biggest points of failure in those applications. So by going to our EcoFlex technology, which is a motor actuator, instead of a solenoid, we're able to do quite a few things with that. First of all, and most importantly, it allows for 95+% reduction in energy usage. The lock operates on a 12 or 24 volts. Actually, real world, it goes about 10 volts to 30 volts, which makes it easy, again, for stocking distributors because you don't have to stock two different solenoid type locks. The other thing is it is field selectable, fail safe, and fail secure. So by flipping a switch on the lock, you can change it in the field from fail safe to fail secure. And if you've ever done a project with a solenoid lock and details have changed on the project and they need to go from fail safe to fail secure, normal distributor, you would have to take that lock back, get a new lock. This one, they can cycle the lock, flip a switch, cycle the lock, and it will change status. So with operating that motor actuator, going down to 10 volts up to 30 volts, it allows us to run longer cable runs. We have to worry about voltage drop between the power supplies and the actual locks doing the work. So with this EcoFlex technology, you are capable of doing much more longer cable runs. It is backwards compatible to our existing 8200 Mortise lock. So if you have a project out there with a solenoid that has burned out, that lock can actually go in and replace it. Keying options. Again, all of our options are added via prefix. We'll be getting much deeper into our cylinder and key system offerings, but know that these exist. The 10- is our signature key system. The 11- is our XC key system. BR is for a bump resistant cylinder. DG1, DG2, DG3 are for our degree system, and that goes as a high-low system from a patented up to a high security cylinder. Our 63 is Sargent's large format interchangeable core. Our F182 is our KISO system. And if you want to order the lock less cylinder, that would be LC. Mortise lock nomenclature. Again, we start with all of our options as our prefix to the product, our series, then function number, then our rose design, then our lever trim, then our finish, then our handing, and then keying information is applicable. We did have one question pop up. We were talking about the 7900 series, and they had mentioned the problem with the VE product going from the best 45H to the 79. The issue will be the warranty. 5 years won't be sufficient. Is there any way around that? Well, the value engineering that I'm talking about would not be we're trying to go head-to-head against Schlage and Best. What I'm considering as value engineering is when you bid a project and the customer comes back, the contractor tells the distributor, we need to save money, so the distributor has to look at other brands. And by other brands, I'm thinking products that were not specified. Falcon, Dorma, Stanley, or Dormakaba would not put that Best, again, into that negotiated work. They would go down to perhaps Dorma, perhaps the Stanley commercial product. They have quite a few products that fit into that commercial and VE type work. That's where we're talking. That's where that would fit. Again, if we were specifying that job from the beginning, and we would probably have the 8200 as the driver for that product, for that project. Do you have any other questions? Okay, let's take a look at some part numbers and how we build a part number stream, and then we will price it, and we'll walk through that here together. If you do have your Sargent catalog out, you can follow along. If you have your price book out, you can follow along. If not, you can listen to me talk. The first exercise here, we're looking at a mortise lock classroom security function with an LN rose trim with an A lever. They want stainless steel hub option. We're asking for an XC key system, large format, interchangeable core with a disposable construction core. We want spanner head screws. We want a secure indicator. This is one of Sargent's older indicators, not the new design that we talked about. They still offer those. We want a request to exit switch. The finish of the lock needs to be polished chrome, and it is a right-hand reverse lock. So jumping to our part numbers here, our series, 8200. Our function for this lock, we asked for a classroom security, a 38 function. Our trim happens to be an LN escutcheon. Our lever is an A. Our hubs, that's an option. That would be a 3-. Our cylinder, we asked for that XC system. 11- would be for the XC. The 60 indicates it's an XC large format with a disposable core. So 11- would be just for the XC. The 60 is large format with a disposable. Putting those two numbers together tells you it's an XC series large format interchangeable core with a disposable plastic core. Again, we will get into cylinders and keying later. The screws, 37- is our spanner head screws. Our indicator, our secure indicator for that is a 50-. The request to exit is an RX. Our finish is 26, which is polished chrome. Handing was right hand. Reverse, I missed an R there, apologize. So this is where we get into our product number stream with a long set of prefixes. So that would be a 3-, 1160-, 37-, 50-, RX-, 82, 38, LN, A by 26, right-hand reverse. So as you see, the breakout above shows you each one of those pieces. So let's look at our catalog. We're going to be going into our price book now. Our price book, we go into the mortise lock section. We find our pricing here happens to be on page ML5, and the top half of the page, you'll find your function on the left-hand side. Your pricing is on the right-hand side, and that's pertinent to all of those levers there, the LNA, the LNE, the LNF, the LNW. And all of the roses that are available as well, the O, the E, the L, and the LN. So they're all the same price for all 4 of those levers in all of the 4 of those roses. So what we need to do is we need to come down that first column to find the lock itself in 8238. We come across that row and we take a look at our finishes. There are 2 columns for finishes. The center column has 10BE, 26D, the BSP and the WSP, which is black suede powder coat and white suede powder coat. On the far right, that column shows you the 03, the 04, the 09, the 10, the 10B, the 10BL, the 14, the 15, the 20D, the 26, the 32, and the 32D finish. All of those are the same list price. So we come across, we come to that far right column because the 26 is there. We find our list price for the lock itself. What we're pricing is the 8238 LNA 26. That is our base lock. Now we need to add all of the options. And the beauty of the Sargent price book, when you look at that, our ML5 page has all of those designs of mortise lock. The page before that, in every section, will have the options that are available for that particular lock. So we're on ML5, we go to page ML4. On page ML4, this is not the full page. I tried to break it out into pieces so we could explode it a little bit so you can see the size. Now we're going to start adding. The options are on the left-hand side column. We come across those rows to the price add or subtraction for the options. So our first one we find is our 3-, which is our stainless steel hub. That's $66 list price add. Then we have our 1160, which is our Sargent XC large format interchangeable core with a plastic disposable construction core. Come across that row, there's no addition for that. Now, you are getting the cylinder housing itself with a plastic disposable construction core. You will have to then order that interchangeable core itself separate from that when you're ready to do the keyed order. Next option was 37 for the spanner head screws. That's a $16 add. Next option was our secure indicator, the 50-, which is $127 add. We now have to add our request to exit switch, our RX, which is $198. So adding those prices for the 3-, the 1160, the 37, the 50, and the RX would take that $1,182 and you would add $66 plus $16 plus $127 plus $198. That lock list price would be $1,589 total. That's the pricing total on that lock. Let's take a look at one more. This one, we're asking for a 7900 series mortise lock, fail secure, 24 volt with key bypass. We're asking for a decorator trim and lever here. We're asking for the TE escutcheon, as well as the RAL lever, which is shown there in the bottom right. The RAL lever has an insert, so the finish is going to be a little bit different for this. We want a 6-pin, small format interchangeable cylinder. We want a request to exit switch on this as well. And the finish for it is going to be 30 BK30. And what we're talking about is the lever itself in the escutcheon will be a 30 finish, which is polished stainless. The BK is a black insert. And then the 30 is the other side of the insert, which is polished stainless for a left-hand reverse door. So let's take a look at our nomenclature here. Our series, 7900. Our function, we go to our electrified section and we find out that's a 70 function. Our escutcheon is a TE. Our lever is an RAL. Our cylinder is a 73-, which is our small format interchangeable core cylinder. The request to exit switch is RX. Our finish is 30 BK30. Our handing, left hand reversible. It is field reversible, but order it properly. So our part number stream again, all of our options in the beginning, 73-, RX-, 7970, 24 volt. We have to tell them the voltage, even though we're using the EcoFlex technology in that lock and it will work for both 12 and 24 volt. TE is our escutcheon. RAL is our lever. 30 BK30 is our finish, left-hand reverse. Now we're going to walk through the pricing on that as well. We're going to get back into our price book. Our price book is on page 149, ML 149, which is our 7900 series studio collection with our Gramercy series. The pricing would cover the CE, the TE, and the LE1 escutcheon, and the RCM, the RAL, and the RAG levers. We come down to find our function, our 7970, which is a 12 volt or 24 volt. You have to order it that way. Fail safe, mortise lock, come across. All the finishes are the same. That is $1,234. So let's take a look at our options pricing. Again, the options are always on the page previous to the section. ML 148. Let's find our 73 dash. 73 dash, small format interchangeable core 6-pin. That price here includes master keying charges as well. That's a $72 add per cylinder. Our request to exit is 198. So we add that 73 dash, RX dash, $72 plus 198 to the 1234, which gives us a 1504 price. Do we have any questions? All right, we do have one question here. How do you specify two finishes on the same lock? A split finish, you would specify it as the outside finish / inside finish. And obviously that would be a handed product because we would have to know what the latch front, the armor front would look like, as well as the strike, as well as the screws. So you would specify the outside, then the inside. And for pricing it, when we do our cylindrical locks, we actually do a pricing exercise on a split finish. All right, let's talk about ease of doing business with ASSA ABLOY. One of the things that Sargent does is regularly they put out an updated lead time sheet. Earlier in the presentation, we talked about most products are available to ship within 2 to 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the product. Well, on our website, we will have updated lead times, and the configuration of the product will depend on the lead time. If it's a large product with a lot of specialty type items, that could push the lead time out. Certain plated closers push the lead times out quite a bit, but you will see these lead sheets are available on our website, and they're updated very, very regularly. You can see this is the most recent one. It was done in April of 2020. So we want to make sure that distributors know how long it's going to take to get material. And there are a couple different ways to buy material from Sargent. Again, standard lead times are based on normal orders. With larger quantities, with specialty product, it could push that out. So if these are not their perfect way to get material, we do have some other options as well. Sargent has a turbo ship program, and there are certain configurations of products that we can do expedited. There is a turbo ship book that is printed, and the guidelines are in there. We have a 24-hour shipping. We have a 1-week shipping, and we have a 2-week shipping program. And there are specific products in each one of those levels, as well as parameters to it. The 24-hour shipping would be standard distributor buying program minus 10 points. The 1-week shipping program, again, this is lead times are based after all questions have been answered. If you send in a good, complete order and we don't have any questions, then it goes in right away and gets out right away. The 1-week shipping program would be at your standard distributor buying program or a project quote minus 5 points. That would be 50,000 max net order. We have 2-week program is at standard buying program discount or at a quoted discount, also limited to 50,000 max net. So for the 2-week shipping, that's quoted discount. For the 1-week shipping, quoted discount minus 5 points. For the 24-hour, that is buying program minus 10 points. So we want to make it easy to get material, but we also have to make sure that not every order needs to be a 24-hour shipping. One of the tools that we give you is our extranet. Distributors, you can sign up for an extranet account with ASSA ABLOY, which gets you access to all of the information that you need to see, and it kind of helps bypass customer service. If you need a catalog, you can get our catalogs, you can get price books, any brand updates and information. All of that information you can find on one clearinghouse from assaabloydss.com, extranet. There's a way to sign up if you don't have an extranet account, and you'll need to know some of your customer numbers. They will ask you customer numbers. You'll have to log in with a company ID, probably not a Hotmail account or a Gmail account, something like that. It would probably not be accepted. But if you log in with your company email address, they will contact the manager at your company and say, does this person have access? Can they look? What can they do? So the beauty of this, distributor reps do a lot of heavy lifting. They travel quite a bit. They're on the road every day. Well, not during COVID-19, but generally they're on the road every day. And I know when I was on the road, I was covering the better part of 2 states and driving 5 days a week. And a customer would call me. I would have to take down that information and pull off the side of the road, possibly go on the extranet myself or contact customer service if I was in a long drive, and then wait for them to get back to me so I get back to my customer. This bypasses that. This allows you to get that information right away. You can view all of our brands here. You can do online order entry. You can track the status of orders, let you do some management of your account. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Online order entry. We use this for the standard, the quick ship, as well as flash ship type orders. And it's available to distributors that want it. Distributors, if you use our flash ship program, that's another special program that we have, a 24-hour shipping program that covers a lot of our commercial type products. McKinney Hinge, Pemco, some Rockwood type items, standard product can be shipped out in 24 hours, as well as some Yale product. Know that you have this available to you, and it can be set up as necessary. You have to go through your DSS to implement the change. One of the other things that you can access is our CRC Dash, now known as Connect. With the Connect, you can do all the management of your account online. You can check your order status. Rather than calling to one of your reps, you can go on here and look and say, oh, I placed this order. I see the order number. If you look at the picture we're showing you, the far right, there's a little node that says activity. You can click on that. You can expedite, or you can ask for expediting orders. If it's an order that's shipped, they all show all the shipped orders. You can check and you can track that order. You can find out where it is in progress. You can find out who signed for the order. From here, you can do order management as well. Request an RGA. Say you had a project that was canceled partway through, but the product already has shipped. Say you need to change finishes. Well, you can instigate the activity here from that activity node. You can request an RGA, explain the situation, and they will come back with an answer, as well as information on a restocking fee and things like that. From this Connect, you can also get catalog information, price book information, and if you're in the accounting, you can see accounts payable, accounts receivable, things like that, but you have to be signed up for that. There are a couple different levels to the extranet that you can have access to. Another thing that we offer to all of our customers is our customer support app. The customer support app is a great way for you, again, to interact with or without customer service. You don't have to call and be put into a queue. You can actually do a couple different things. You can live chat with a tech rep. You can do a video from your phone for troubleshooting. You can get catalog and template information from the app. So versus sitting and have to call in to the tech reps. you can do this all from this app. That's the ASSA ABLOY Customer Support app, available on the iTunes Store as well as Google platforms. The best thing on this is the chat feature. When you come into the actual app, you can go by brand. And when you click on that brand, it will show you the hours of operation for wherever you are in the country. If you're on the West Coast, you'll see, all right, Sargent is open these hours. Their tech people are in these hours. So you know when you can get somebody online. And again, you can phone call from the app, which is just like phone calling from your desk. I recommend the chat feature. You can email from this as well. And we always say, if you're going to a job site tomorrow, the email is a great thing. If you're on a job site and you need immediate information, the chat feature is great. The phone call, if you can wait, you go into the normal queue. But the beauty of this chat feature is there's a video capability where you could take a picture of this lock and say, this is the problem. Watch how it operates or watch how it doesn't do. The rep can then see what you're doing and interact. They can draw on that video and say, oh, you have a screw in this position, and circle it, and then say, no, it needs to be in this position for it to work. Or your wiring harness, you don't have it wired correctly. All that information can be done through the app. I'm going to show you a little demo of the app here.
Connecting with ASSA ABLOY customer service and technical support has never been easier. With the customer support app from ASSA ABLOY, you can email, voice call, or chat with a customer service or technical support representative right from your phone or tablet. No more listening to endless phone menus to find the department you need. With the customer support app, you get connected to the customer service or technical support department instantly. Having technical difficulties? Use the streaming video Show Me feature to show your technical support representative in real time any issues you have, all from your phone or tablet camera. Draw directly on the screen to point out exactly where you're having issues and get the help you need fast. Want to check order history or status of an order? Log on to ASSA ABLOY Connect directly from the customer support app to get access to all your order information on one easy interface. With the customer support app from ASSA ABLOY, you can have the support you need when you need it. Download the customer support app from the Apple Store or Google Play today.
So that's one of the tools that we have that makes it easy to do business with us. Also, we have a complete digital library. Everything that we manufacture is put into this digital library. And it is a very easy to use interactive platform. The beauty of this is the catalogs are always up to date. Now, if you're an old timer like myself that started out in the binder world where you have a big thick binder from every manufacturer that had all of the information in it, you came to grow and love those binders. But you would also have to update them every time the manufacturer augmented or changed the features of a product. They would have to send out a new printed piece, an insert that you would have to put into your binder to make sure it's up to date. And a couple years ago, I made the decision that I was no longer going to keep my 4 foot wide by 6 foot high shelf full of manufacturers' catalogs. I had every ASSA ABLOY catalog as well as every manufacturer who we compete against, and some of the information was possibly years out of date. And to confirm things, I'd have to go online anyway. So I decided that going online is probably the better way. And ASSA ABLOY has now put everything into the one platform where it's very easy to find all this information. The other problem with printed catalogs is the minute you get it, it could be out of date. And again, the insert sections you'd have to deal with, or if you want to order a brand new one with the correct information, well, if we've printed 500 catalogs and we have 400 of them left, we're not going to print new ones with new information until we use up those other 400. It's paper waste. Again, ASSA ABLOY tries to be a green company. We do try to walk the talk. We make products that are energy efficient. We also want to eliminate paper waste. So we're trying to transition into digital format for all of our catalogs. And the search feature within this helps you find information, and it'll help save time and frustration trying to find the information that you need. Okay. The features, as you're going through, you can actually filter by product category, search for specific terms. You can bookmark notes on individual sections of the catalog that you're looking at. You can actually pull pieces of that catalog and print them or email them to somebody. I'm going to show you and walk through a virtual demonstration of this. Now, this is something I've done myself. It does not have any audio to it, so I'm going to speak over it. So I'm on the extranet, and I go down to the manufacturer that happens to be Sargent, looking for collateral materials, catalogs, which takes me to the digital library. You can find that on our ASSA ABLOY digital library site as well. I'm looking through the catalogs. I want to find a specific one. I go to the 281 series closer. It brings up the entire catalog. You can walk through the catalog. You can click on it to expand the view to see what you want to see. Find the application, the page, the information that you're looking for. Say I want to send that information to somebody, I could export it as a PDF, I could print it off, I could mail it, I could crop pieces of the image out. So here I'm going to make it into a PDF, that page, have a cover page as well. It's creating a PDF for me from this site. It's going to allow me to view it. There's my cover page. There are the 2 pages that I selected for it to manufacture for me. So I can use this as necessary as a submittal document or save it to my desktop, print it off. So I'm going to back out of there and go back to the digital catalog library. And I want to bookmark. I put that information there on those 2. From there, you could add notes to those sections as well. Email it from there or trash it from there. And it'll always save that as long as you haven't cleared your cache. You can look at it as a single facing, as a double, or as thumbnails, all the pages along the bottom. So again, let's go back to the 2-sided view. That same picture that I want to share this with a customer. So you click that share. I'm going to share just the those 2 pages. To email it, you can email it right from that system. So I happen to be sending this to an architect friend of mine. As you see, I'm not the most speedy typist in the world, but you can basically see what we're doing. And it's only going to send them those 2 pages of what we asked for. So you type in your message and you click it and it will send that attachment out to them. And that's great. We're in Sargent products. So say you need some information on one of the other ASSA ABLOY companies, there are other things you can do. We're searching for other brands here. This one happens to be going out to the Norton door controls. So we want to see if the Norton product that is similar to the 281 has same features and benefits. Okay, we're viewing that. We want to add that to our bookmark. Make any notes on it. You could type right on top of it and have notes sit in there. You can also, from this digital catalog library, find installation instructions as well as videos. So there's a lot of convenient information that you can find just by digging through these catalog sections. So the videos take you out to a YouTube site where we host all of our videos. You could do that from there. Unfortunately, you can't download the videos to your site. So it is very, very feature rich and very, very functional. Again, it's going back to our library here. Now we also have an ASSA ABLOY product conversion tool. This site is convert2aa.com. And what this does, it allows you the availability to convert competitive brands to ASSA ABLOY product. And again, I talked about the catalogs that everyone keeps. It could be out of date. They try to keep this up to speed as far as any product enhancements will be added as much as possible. This is a relatively new tool, and it is being enhanced every day and added. And the beauty of it is you can type in the competitor name and a model number or an ANSI number, and you'll get a list of Sargent product or Corbin Russwin or Yale product that is the direct conversion. Once you find the conversion, you can then add it to your project list, which will give you a list of product that you could put with your project files and do the conversion. The beauty of this is it's available through multiple brands. So I'm going to show you a quick demo here of the conversion tool. Again, this is something that I did myself, and I will walk you through it. Okay, we are on that site, convert2aa.com. You can get through it from the extranet as well. So let's take a look. I'm looking at the competitor here. I'm going to scroll down and find. I'm doing a project and I need to convert from Schlage locks. So I come over to the competitor model number, an ND10 lock, and I want to match any. And I find a Corbin Russwin conversion, and I find a Sargent conversion. I click the plus, and that adds it to my list. So now I want to go to the exit devices, Von Duprin. Put in the competitor's model number. It gives me conversions for Sargent and for Corbin Russwin. Now I want to look at door closers. And this is where it can be a little difficult. This is a new platform. So I'm going to go into the LCN 4000 series. That it didn't find me a match. So I'm going to go specifically to a 4041. It did not find a match there. However, on the 4040, it gave me matches. So I would select the product that I wanted to convert. I didn't know if I clicked it once or twice here, and it tells me you already have a product down here in your grid. So you cannot put two things on the same. So you can't make a mistake there. So I come down to the other brand, Corbin Russwin. So now I have the part numbers here for the three, and I want to download this as a what they call a CSV file, a comma separated values file. And the computer will ask me, do I want to run a program on the computer, which is Excel? Yes, I do. So it brings me this product up. So here's the ASSA ABLOY products. There's our part numbers. There's our competitor brands, the competitor's model, as well as the ANSI function, and a short description of everything. So again, this gives us our quick, easy comparison between brands. And then you could save that list and utilize it as necessary. Again, you might not get every lever design, every trim for the exit device, but this at least guides you to the point of being able to convert easily without having to pull one of those old-fashioned books out, the conversion books that there's a company called Dalax that used to make them. I think they have an online platform. Again, every manufacturer will have their own version of something like this. Just know that we have this available for you. Okay. Our Built app. This is not an ASSA ABLOY product. This is a third-party app, but this is a great tool for installers, for distributors, or even for our reps that have to go out and troubleshoot. What it does is it gives you 3D interactive instructions, and it will guide you step by step to installing product. what it was, it was designed for the homeowner, basically. If you went to Home Depot and you purchased a Weber gas grill and you're not very handy and you might need a little bit of help. That was what the idea was built on. But we've seen commercial applications for this product with our technical and our electronics and access control products where you might need a little bit of extra help with installation. And again, you can rotate, you can zoom the pictures in. If you want to see the view from you standing at the floor looking up at that low energy operator, trying to figure out what's going on with it. And you can actually zoom into the picture and see up close what they're talking about. So let's take a quick look. Again, this is a third-party tool. Built is not an ASSA ABLOY company. They are their own entity. But we've been tasked as a company to put our products onto this platform in order to make it easy for people to do business with us. Make it easy for installers to figure out what those little pieces and parts and what all those widgets do. And again, it's available on iTunes as well as Google. Both of the apps that I showed you are free of charge. Now let's talk about our access control product. What we have is a difficulty marrying our distributors and access control integrators. They may not understand exactly how to specify our products because they know access control, but they don't know hardware. They're not sure part numbers. And when we make assumptions, we make it very, very difficult. So ASSA ABLOY has come up with an electronic access control configurator, which again allows the customer, the integrator even, to walk through, take the guesswork out of choosing access control products. And it's designed based on drop-down menus, and it asks a bunch of questions. It starts out with the card type and information. Is it proximity? Is it iClass? Is it smart card? And it just keeps asking questions from the platform to even finishes. What do you want the levers to look like? And at the end, after they answer all those questions, it will spit out a part number, which would mean then they can get to the distributor and say, this is the exact part number that I need. No more guesswork, no more assuming. And that's available from our Intelligent Openings website, which is www.intelligentopenings.com. You would, again, need to be an access control vendor, an authorized channel partner, in order to get access to Intelligent Openings. Again, if you're in that business, you know what I'm talking about. So those are the tools that we have that, again, are here to make the job easier. So I had a question just pop up. If a Sargent lock isn't functioning well and no backup is available at the moment, can the app help with temp fix by taking mortise lock body and open to figure out why it's not functioning? We do not recommend opening the lock body. The mortise lock bodies are sealed from the factory. And due to UL regulations, we don't recommend opening them up. I would recommend using the chat feature on the customer support app and doing a chat and a video with technical support. There should not ever be a reason in the field to open a mortise lock body up. Good question. So let's talk about how to avoid delayed orders. Right, which is a quick checklist of ideas and thoughts. Okay, avoiding order delays. In order for the order to be processed by customer service, they have to have complete and correct orders. All the information has to be there. You cannot allow for any guessing, if you will. So what that does, it allows for immediate processing and scheduling of the acknowledgement. The ship date, again, normal ship dates are 2 to 3 week lead time upon entry, meaning that the order is clean, entered. The orders are usually acknowledged within 24 hours from entry, unless there's a question. So we ask for our distributors to, again, provide full product string with all required fields identified. If it's electrified, we need the voltage. Even though our mortise locks have multiple voltage available, we want to know. If it's a quick ship or turbo ship order, they're entered the same day. And those of you who use a third-party platform, ProTech, ComSense, or any other that uses electronic data interchange, we do have a software option that will allow you to enter that, which goes immediately in and gets reviewed quickly by order processing and gets right through. So we've asked order entry from all of our companies, and what are the biggest problems? What holds an order up? These are what we call our top 5 reasons for delays. The first and foremost is keying details. On a keyed order, if you don't send all of the documentation and all the proper ordering information for keyed orders, we can't process it. And I used to have the same bad habit years ago when I was in distribution. I would send an order in and say, please process keying information to follow. Well, nothing happens with that order. They will not start processing the order if it's a keyed order until it has all the information. And as a distributor rep with ASSA ABLOY, I fielded some of those calls, asking, why are they holding my order? I need that information. Well, it would have to be ordered less cylinder and then order the cylinder separately. Keying details on a keyed order have to be there. Number 2 is our handings missing. Again, the mortise lock is field rehandable, but we don't make any assumptions. And nothing's worse than having 85 mortise locks sent out to a job site and the contractor having to fix half of them. They won't be happy. So add the order information. Miscellaneous would be, details, things that don't work together. Different options that conflict with each other, an option that doesn't exist for a mortise lock, things like that. And then we have door height, exit devices. Sargent absolutely needs to know the door height and your above finished floor dimension for the center line of the exit device if it's anything other than 41 inches. Finish is our last of our top 5 issues. Again, we can't make assumptions. So what happens when customer service or order entry gets these orders? We do what is called, in the past, it used to be called a QFAX. Now we've changed it to a delayed order notification, a DON. Delayed order is something that's incomplete or incompatible parts, which will not allow them to complete the process of the order. So what happens is, when we find something like that, a delayed order notification, will be sent via email to the buyer whose name is on the order. And the notification will have all the issues associated with the order that require answers before we can complete it. And they'll send that order and they'll send up notifications every 2 days. If the distributor does not respond by day 5, the customer will be notified that the line items in question are canceled from the order and they'll have to be resubmitted properly. Again, we're not trying to make your life hard, but we need that information in order to process the order. So this is what a dawn looks like. This particular one, it's day number 1. There's 5 days remaining. You see the date and time that we received the order, the date and time that we sent it out. It would go to the distributor name. The 2 is whoever ordered the material. We have the distributor purchase order number as well as our order number. And it says the following: your Sargent order is on hold pending the following information. Standard lead time will not apply until all questions are answered. So this one happened to be the handing missing. Page 1, line 1, items 8204 requires a handing when ordered with an A lever. That A lever is the curved lever and absolutely cannot be field reversed. So please advise for that line in question. And from that, you see that they did answer right hand door handing. That will go back in and be processed right away. But it's important to know that we need to know who ordered the material. If the purchase orders do not have a name on it, it's very hard for us to send information to get updates. So we used to just fax them to the customer. Can you imagine having a fax come over on the machine, and then someone's got to take it and figure out who ordered it? It was always a process. So by going digital, we could send that right to that person that ordered it and hopefully get that information back right away. So we give you 5 days to get back to us. After 5 days, we will pull it out. So how to avoid order delays? Understand what information is required. What do we need for each product series? The catalog sections have really, really good how to order sections. So if it's a mortise lock, you look in that how to order and you see each piece, each part, all the things that are required for us to process that order. If it's a keyed order, we have a checklist of things that need to be followed, as well as forms, as well as acknowledgments, as well as letters of authorization, things like that. And when we talk about keying on the next session, we will dig deeper into that. Exit devices. Notice that we only make exit device in reverse bevel. It's going to be either left-hand reverse or right-hand reverse. Again, some of them are field reversible, but we need to know that from the original order. We need the door height. If it's vertical rods, we definitely need to know that. Door widths. The beauty of the Sargent company, we offer 4 standard widths of exit devices, and there's a letter code designation for those, which we'll get to when we talk exits. But we will also cut those in the factory for you, which if you have a 630 stainless steel bar, it is very difficult in the field to cut those unless you have the proper tools, unless you know the proper procedure. You could really, really make that device look ugly. It's just as easy to ask us to do it in the factory, and we will size that to what you ask us to do. So we ask for the door height and the door width. Mortise locks. We would definitely want to know the handing, even though they're field reversible. Cylinder options, keyway information. When we talk keying, if you don't tell us, you're going to get our standard keyways. If it's a keyed order, again, you can select keyways, or it's going to be what that existing system has. Anything different than standard, we need to know. Okay, door closers. Bear in mind, door closers are only available in right hand and left hand. They're always handed from the push side of the opening. So if it is a left-hand reverse door, looking at that door from the push side, it's going to be a right-hand closer. Voltage for electrified products must be specified. We do not make assumptions. I say we do not make assumptions, but when we talk about finish, since 26D brushed chromium and 32D brushed stainless are compatible products, if you happen to order a product with 26D finish and it's not available as 26D, it's available as 32D, we will make that only assumption because they're compatible to each other. But if there's no finish listed, we're going to ask you. If you're asking us to put the door schedule, door number information on the hardware, on the box itself, we can put door numbers, but it is limited to 7 characters. And you need to give us all of that proper information. And distributors, if you've ever had to number boxes upon boxes upon boxes of architectural hardware, it is a nice feature to be able to have the factory number those for you. On a keyed order, obviously, if the cylinders are shipping with it, we're going to include that. But we can do that also on the non-keyed items and the other products on the job. But you have to tell us. Our keyed order information. There's going to have to be a separate order for every different system or registry number. So if you had a large campus or a large hospital system and they were ordered at different times and each one has its own registry, you cannot bulk those orders up to one. If it's a different registry or a different system, it has to be on its own order. So the required information we need to know for keying is the system status. Are we designing a brand new key system or are we expanding an existing system? The design, how it's laid out. Is it just keyed alike, keyed different, master keyed, grandmaster keyed, great grandmaster keyed? We're going to talk a little bit more about the keying, but we need to know the system type, what you're assuming. The keyway. Again, if it's matching something that's existing, we need to know that. If it's a new keyway, it's a new system, we're going to probably select the keyway for you unless you ask for something specific. Any documents, any pre-approval information. If we're keying into an existing system or an owner-developed system, there's a lot of pre-approval that needs to take place for that. You would have to do a lot of legwork in the beginning to make sure, again, this all gets coordinated through your rep, to make sure that we can, first of all, expand an owner-developed system and that the owner also absolves us from any responsibility for their errors. Authorizations. If the owner wants a bidding list, if the owner wants the keys shipped to a different location, any information like that would require letters of authorization, especially for special keyways. Special shipping instructions. You need to tell us how you want it to be done. For standard systems, the keys are usually packed with the locks. For restricted, security, high security type products, they're always shipped separate. And normally they want that to go to the end user unless the end user sends a letter of authorization saying the distributor can receive that for me. Again, it's about chain of custody. We want to make sure that those keys don't fall into the wrong hands. Here's our keyed order checklist. Things to make sure before you send that in. Identify the required information. Is it master keyed? Is it a new system? Is it existing? Identify the cylinder functions. Make sure if it's a keyed lock and it happens to have 2 cylinders, one on the outside, one on the inside, we need to know the keying information for both sides of that lock. Sometimes classroom security locks, they want that inside cylinder keyed differently than the outside cylinder. Again, every job is unique. We make no assumptions. Stamping. How do they want their keys stamped? Do they want any identification stamping on the cylinder? We can do all of those different things. We can do custom coining on the key. If that company has a logo, they can buy a special die for that key to be pressed with their facility logo. There's a cost involved with that. There's a lead time involved with that. We have to know that kind of stuff. Cross keying. Again, when we get to the keying section, we'll talk about cross keying and why it's not a very good idea for a lot of applications. Master keying and keying itself is for convenience, not for security. Every additional layer of keying you put into that cylinder makes that cylinder more susceptible to possible manipulation. You have to tell us, again, how you want us to pack and mark the change keys, where they get shipped to, whether or not the customer wants a bidding list. I will warn you, if you want a bidding list and you order it with the system and you make that notation on the factory order on our lead sheets and send the authorization information, that will be sent out at no charge as we develop the system. If you come back 6 months later after the job is shipped and say the owner would really like a bidding list, there will probably be a charge for that because of the time involved with digging out the key records. To find an older bidding list from an older system, again, we keep all of that information. All those factory generated systems live somewhere. They used to be on microfiche and file folders in vaults, and now that's digitally stored. But it still takes time to find that information. Contact information. Somebody knowledgeable about the keyed order. Some companies have a purchasing agent that does all of the orders. The purchasing agent may or may not know how that hospital or school is to be keyed. So the contact information should be the project manager who was involved, that made sure that we're keying it the way that the owner wants it. They should be the contact. Because if we contact the purchasing agent, that's one more step that they have to do. So by doing all these things on a keyed order, we can get that order out to you much quicker, much easier. There was a question asked. It says, if lead times require us to pin the cylinders in our facility, but it is a factory-controlled system, can Sargent make the necessary expansion for us and provide bidding? If so, what is the procedure for this? Absolutely, Sargent could do that, providing that you know the information on the existing system, and they could provide the next group of biddings that would need to be, again, coordinated through the key systems department. We're going to start into our part 2, which is going to discuss our cylindrical locks, our cylinders and cores, as well as ordering key systems. Again, you are able, I should say, to unmute your lines to ask specific questions, or you can use the Q&A feature. Either way is fine. Again, let's take a look back at the nomenclature. This time for the board locks, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different series, and you'll see the first digits are the series, and then the next 2 digits will be function. Between the series and function, you will see a U or a G, and what that stands for is unguarded latch or guarded latch. So any of the keyed functions will have a G. Any of the unkeyed functions will have a U. That is not something that you can pick and choose. You cannot order a keyed function with an unguarded latch or vice versa. It is factory determined. And all the options, again, are added via prefix. Here's 2 examples. The locks start with the options, then the series, then the function, then the trim. We have 2 of them here, a 28-10G05 LL. The 28- is a 4 7/8 ANSI strike. The 10G is a grade 1 cylindrical lock. The G tells us it's a guarded latch, which is a keyed function. The 05 is an entrance function. The LL is the lever rows and lever style. The second example, a 60-7G38 LJ. The 60- is for interchangeable core. The 7G is a 7-line grade 2. The G tells us it's a keyed function, guarded latch. The 38 is a classroom function. LJ, L is the rose, J is the lever. And again, through all the product series, the function numbers remain the same through all the cylindrical locks. Let's take a look at some common functions. Again, we list the function number on the left, the ANSI number in the center, and the description on the right. The 15 is the passage function. The 65 is the privacy. 05 is entry. 04 is storeroom. 37 is classroom. 38 is classroom security. The ANSI number, again, is the best tool out there that you can use to convert from one brand to another. So let's get into the brands. We're going to start at the top of our product series. This is our 11 line. 11 line is our vandal resistant, extra heavy duty, grade 1 tubular lock. And what makes this unique is the way that the latch bolt attaches to the lock set itself. If you look at the picture with the blue arrow down on the bottom right, I'm showing you how a normal cylindrical lock attaches the latch bolt to the body. And that is common throughout virtually every cylindrical lock out there. There are some residentials that use a different design, but for the commercial and architectural world, everybody's cylindrical lock has a retractor piece that's in the center of the latch bolt that comes into the body of the lock. And then there will be two wings, one at the top and one at the bottom, that actually attaches the latch to the lock body. And how this installs is you put the latch bolt in, then you slide the lock body into the latch bolt. You attach to the T-shaped retractor as well as the top and bottom wings. Now this is the weakest point of every cylindrical lock. And that's why all of the industrial and architectural type products out there will have a separate through bolt above and below the chassis of the lock. And one of the reasons for that through bolt is it holds that latch lock body into proper position and does not allow you to spin the body of the lock set around and possibly break the retractor piece or the retainer piece that holds the latch bolt to the lock. So that brings us to the T-zone construction, or the 11 line. It's an entirely different layout, a different installation. This picture now shows you the latch bolt as well as what we call our bearing assembly, or the housing of the lock set. And how this installs: the bearing assembly goes into the door first, and then the latch bolt extends through the body and is pinned into place. So this lock, unlike every other cylindrical lock out there, cylindrical lever, does not require through bolts. There are no through bolts for it. You will see in the commercial space, in that design build market, where there are some locks out there that have optional through bolts. Well, you're going to have the optional through bolts, but you're still going to have that weak latch point. This T-zone construction, we call it, torque zone, actually makes that lock very, very strong. Not only have we tested it well above and beyond grade 1 for cycle testing, this lock has been tested beyond 34 million cycles. And normal anti-BHMA requires 700 inch-pounds of torque on the lever in a locked position, and the lock has to withstand that. This lock has been tested over 3,000 pounds of torque, which is the equivalent of 3 250-pound football players standing on the edge of the latch. So it is a very, very strong, very, very rigid, very, very durable lock. Now, this lock takes a little bit of expertise to install. It does not install like a typical cylindrical lock. Again, you put the bearing assembly in, then the latch bolt goes through it and is pinned into place. That makes that a very, very strong construction. All of Sargent's locks are rigid when in the lock position. There are some manufacturers that have freewheeling, some manufacturers have clutched levers. With this series, they are rigid when locked at all times. Only requires a 45-degree turn of the lever to retract the latch bolt completely. 4 different lever designs. We also offer 4 different rose designs. The reason being for this, because it is available to change out old knob locks. You can still use that small rose. You don't need that large rose, but we do offer the large rose if you have to take off a current lever version with the through bolts. You need to cover those holes. This lock is available in 12 architectural finishes, 19 functions. There are no electrification options available for this lock. If you look at that chassis, there's not a whole lot of room to put anything like that in. So we will talk about the keying options here shortly. The lock carries a 10-year warranty. It's designed for an 1 3/4 door. It can go to a thicker door, but it cannot go to a shallower door. If you have an 1 3/8 residential style door, this lock would more than likely be overkill for that application. So 1 3/4 or thicker. 2 3/4 back set. So we're talking about from the center line of the door to the center line of the middle of the lock prep, 2 3/4. That's the center line of the latch bolt. That is industry standard for commercial work. When you get into residential and light commercial, or if you have a door that has a panel in it or full window, sometimes they request a 2 3/8 back set, a residential style back set, to move that lock set over closer to the latch bolt edge. We cannot do that. We can go wider, further away from the latch bolt edge. We can do a 3 3/4 or a 5-inch back set, but we cannot do a 2 3/8. Here are the designs for the different levers and the different roses. There are 4 lever designs, 4 roses you can mix and match. With these, all of the levers are cast and the roses are wrought. And when we're talking about cast versus wrought, a cast material is something that was molten and put into a form and is solid. And wrought would be something that was a flat piece of metal that was bent. And when we're comparing, between brands, we want to make sure, especially with mortise locks, that if you're pricing a Sargent cast lever, that the other person's lever is cast, not a wrought or tubular, because there is a difference in price between them. So the 11 line, where does this fit against the competition? Frankly, we see no competition with this lock. Again, this is our lock that we put in those applications where other cylindrical locks fail. This is something that we will write as a no-sub spec for an owner if that's what they want. But currently, there is no one else that offers a lock like this. So if we're going to something in more of a competitive environment, let's take a look at our grade 1 heavy-duty 10-line series. Okay, our 10-line series is the grade 1 certified, has been tested beyond 9 million cycles, comes with a stainless steel latch bolt. It is rigid when locked. We offer this in 6 different lever designs and 2 rose designs. 14 finishes, 19 mechanical functions. Again, we'll talk about the keying options that are available. 1 3/4 door thickness is standard up to 2 1/4 inch thick. We do make an adapter that will allow you to use it on an 1 3/8 door. But again, that's probably, overkill for that type of a product. We do a 2 3/8 back set up to 5-inch back set, but the standard, if you don't tell us, you're going to get a 2 3/4 inch back set. Lock comes with a 7-year warranty. BHMA certified, meaning it met 1 million cycles, but this lock has been tested beyond 9 million cycles by a third party. I did have a comment that just popped up that says Allegion has a product that they call an equivalent to the 11 line. I haven't personally seen it. I've seen literature. I would want to see an engineering evaluation from it, as well as the extended cycle testing. Once they hit those 34 million cycles, let's go ahead and put them in the spec with us. We welcome fair competition. Speaking of competition, with the 10-line series lock, where we spec this, where we will happily compete, is against the Schlage ND series, the Stanley 9K, 93K type product, the Corbin Russwin CL 3300. You would see all of those on a spec, and they are expected to perform admirably. And let me revisit the competitor situation. You'll see different manufacturers coming out with different features and benefits, different testing requirements. And what we do is we all push each other. If one of our brands comes out with a feature and it is a feature that another brand does not have, or extended cycle testing, well, the other brand has a choice to make. They can either come up with a product that meets the same testing requirements or the same durability requirements, and they will share that information. And a lot of times you'll see those products have an extended warranty, a longer warranty than a normal 1 year. And at the end of the day, what are we doing? We're all forcing each other to make better products. The owners of the buildings are getting better products with a better warranty. And what it comes down to is the service. Those owners are going to go to those good distributors that service them. The distributors are going to go to those good manufacturers that service them. And again, we are happy to put any of our products on a fair comparison against any manufacturer. And again, we've been pushing each other, and the quality levels of everyone's products has gone up and up over the years. Let's take a look at the lever and rose designs here. They are the 6 standard levers. You'll see 5 of them are solid cast. They're cast zinc construction. Every cylindrical lock manufacturer that I'm aware of is using a cast zinc for their lever and then plating the levers to match. Our J lever is a wrought material. It is a tubular steel material. Again, you want to have those levers to be reasonably lightweight in order to allow for durability of the lock and the spring mechanisms inside the lock sets. On the center there are our 2 rose designs that are available. The L rose is the quote standard. The G is a different version, a different look. So you have 2 different versions. So you have 2 roses and 6 levers on our standard product offering. That is our grade 1, extra heavy duty and heavy duty. Let's take a look at our grade 2 offerings. Our 7 line is our grade 2 product. Again, it is certified grade 2. The difference between grade 1 cycle testing and grade 2 cycle testing for cylindrical locks, grade 1 has to go 1 million cycles. Grade 2 is 400,000 cycles. We certified this to grade 2 status. The lever is rigid when locked. 5 lever designs, 1 rose option, 13 finishes available, 10 functions. They're all mechanical functions. There's no electrification. The keying options we'll touch on. 5-year warranty on this lock. Lock's designed for an 1 3/4 thick door. We can go down to 1 3/8 for those light commercial applications. We can do a 2 3/8 back set all the way up to a 5-inch back set. And where does this fit in the market? If we're speccing a job, we happily put this against the Schlage AL series and the best, their 73K, as well as the Corbin Russwin CL 3800. Those are all in that same architectural market. Let's take a look at the levers available. Okay, they're all cast levers, 5 levers, 1 rose design. Sometimes in that grade 2 market, we have a need for even more competitive pricing. In that negotiated and design build type world, sometimes we need to hit a price point with the lock. So we have our 6500 series. Our 6500 series is a BHMA certified grade 2 product, rigid when locked, only 8 functions, 1-year warranty on it, 2 3/8 and 2 3/4 back set, 1 3/8 to 1 3/4 door thickness. Again, this one gets you into a price point. The lever that we're showing you there, our standard L lever, is the one that we can get quickly. We do offer this in the B and P lever as well, but that will add to our lead time because it is a custom construction. Again, this is when we're competing in that design build market where we have to go against Falcon, Dorma, Cal Royal, PDQ, things like that. When they're on the price play type scenario, it gives you a certified grade 2 product. So we still do offer some knobs. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the knobs. Just know that they exist. Our 8X is our grade 1. Our 6 is our grade 2. And you'll see with the grade 1, we offer 1 knob design in 3 finishes, 7 functions. The grade 2, we have 2 knob designs, 7 finishes, 12 functions. Now, in the US, it is very difficult to find many applications for knobs. Where you would see it is areas that do not need to comply with ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. That would be probably military, barracks, things like that. They could possibly do that. And I've also seen them sold in industrial applications, factories, fire towers, things like that, where normally people with a physical disability wouldn't be accessing those openings. But we also sell internationally. So in South America, they don't always have the same standards, so knobs are sometimes more prevalent there. In Europe, knobs can be used in certain applications, so they exist. These are the two options. The 8X has those 3 finishes: polished brass, brushed stainless, and dark bronze electroplated. 1 rose, 1 knob. The grade 2 has a couple of different finishes, a couple different knob options. You have the 2 there to pick from. Let's talk about options that come with the locks. If you want the Torx screws, if you don't want someone messing with it, that is a 36 dash. A 20 dash is our 2 3/8 back set. If you want that lever prepared to accept a 6 or 7 pin small format interchangeable core. Again, the small format interchangeable core is what we would consider the best style core. That's a small universal type core, so everyone's small format fits everyone else's. And if you look at the large format, that is usually specific to brand. So we do offer the lever, a 30 dash, to accept a Schlage cylinder. We have an SF, which is a L lever that accepts a Schlage large format interchangeable core. We have our 41, which is a 3/4 inch throw latch bolt for the 10 line. That 41 option would be used on pairs of doors with a 3-hour fire label that require the 3/4 of an inch latch. WBS is a rot box for behind the strike. Some hollow metal manufacturers don't put what they call a mortar box in behind it in drywall applications. And you can look back in that strike hole and see the inside of the wall, and that might be objectionable to architects. So the WBS is an option that you can add to that. The knurling 76 dash is for a knurled outside lever. Again, that tactile warning to somebody who might not be able to see, that would know there might be a reason I don't want to go into that opening. FW is freewheeling levers. That's available on the 10 line. And again, if the specification is asking for that, Sargent feels that they offer a pretty good lock with the rigid levers, but we can follow the specification and provide freewheeling if necessary. REX, request to exit switch. That's a switch on the inside lever that could use to signal the access control system or the security system that somebody is leaving that door and not to alarm. At the bottom here is probably the most important prefix to remember with cylindrical locks, the 28 dash. The 28 dash is a curved lip strike. With Sargent, for their cylindrical locks, if you do not ask, you get a 2 3/4 inch tall T-type strike. If you want a 4 7/8 strike to fit stock hollow metal, you have to ask for a 28 dash. And Sargent's standard has always been the 2 3/4 T strike because Sargent comes from that custom manufacturing world. You can still buy hollow metal frames that are designed for a 2 3/4 T strike, but most stocking distributors stock the 4 7/8. So the 28 dash is an option. There is no upcharge for it, but you have to ask. You can't come back after the fact and say, I need 50 28 dash 4 7/8 strikes for this job, because we'll have to charge you for them. They come as parts. Here's what we're talking about with the strikes. The center one is the 28 dash option. That's your ANSI 4 7/8 type strike. The T strike on the left is your standard 2 3/4 inch curved lip strike that you get if you don't ask. On grade 2 products, you might want the full lip strike if you're going into a wood frame. That is a 14 dash option. Those are the 3 common strikes used. There are others in the book, and I would recommend that you peruse the books. But again, just remember, you get the T strike if you don't ask. If you want the 4 7/8, it is a 28 dash option. We can also do these strikes with extended lips, which is talking about the center line of the latch bolt to the end of the lip. The extended lips would be used if you're doing an application where there might be a piece of trim on the outside face of the frame that extends out towards the edge of the rabbet of the frame. You would definitely not want to have the latch bolt scratch against a nice piece of wood trim. So you would order that extended lip strike. Again, that's in the price book, and there's a formula on how to order that strike and how to specify that strike, what it needs to be. Let's take a look at some keying options for the cylindrical locks. If you put a 10 dash, that is for our signature key system. And bear with me, we're going to get into the actual key systems here in a little bit. I just want to tell you about the options. So 10 dash is a signature key system, which gives you additional blocking bars, locking points for it. The 11 dash is our XC key system, which again gives you additional locking points. BR stands for bump resistant. Bump resistant is talking about the ability to bump pick the cylinder. And we will talk about that when we get into keying a little bit more. DG1, DG2, DG3 are our degree from patented to security to high security. The 63 dash is our interchangeable core 6-pin cylinder. In that family, the 60 dash is the prep only. The 63 is for the complete cylinder with core. 64 is a temporary construction core. That is for a Sargent large format interchangeable core, Sargent design. The 73 dash is for the small format cylinder, 6 or 7 pin. The 70 is prep only. The 72 is with a temporary core. And Sargent can offer a cylinder in small format. We can do those in a couple key ways, as well as some of our competitors' best A through M keyways. An 82 dash or an F1 82 would be for our KESO or our KESO F1 key system. And if you want a standard lock set with a conventional core prep for a Sargent cylinder, you would put LC as your prefix. Let's take a look at our part number stream here. Our prefixes for options are first, then our product series, whether it's a guarded or unguarded latch, then our function, then our lever design and rows, then our finish. So the one thing that would change by going to a different series would be that 10. If you wanted a 7 line, it would be a 7 GO4. If you wanted a 65, it would be a 65 GO4, and so on. Any questions on the cylindrical lock products? I know we walked through those pretty fast. All right, let's take a look at some part number streams. We have, I think, 3 exercises that we're going to build part numbers for. So if you want to follow along, grab your book. The first one we're going to do, we need an 11 line lock, grade 1, in a classroom security function with an O rows, with an L lever, signature key system, with a 5-inch back set, a 4 7/8 ANSI type strike in 626 finish. We would dig into that. We start with our series. That would be an 11 line. The function, classroom security, we asked for a 38 function, which would be a G38. Our rows is an O rows. Our lever that we asked for is an L lever. Our finish, 26D. Our handing, they are field reversible. Our cylinder, we asked for a 10-dash signature key system. Our back set, we asked for a 5-inch back set, which the options tell us that is a 25-dash. Our strike is a 4 7/8 ANSI strike, which is a 28-dash. So our part number stream looks something like this. A 10-dash, 25-dash, 28-dash, 11G38, OL, 26D, right hand. Now, looking at that part number stream, people will ask, do the prefixes have to be in alphabetical or numerical order? No, they can be in any order. I put them that way to make it easy. The finish, the 26D designation, can I order it as US 26D? Yes, Sargent will accept either their nomenclature or industry standard nomenclature. So let's take a look at the pricing for this. So if you're following along, we're going to go into the catalog price book for the board locks. The 11 line section happens to be BL3. That is the board lock T-zone 11 line. And you'll notice at the top, that pricing is for the L, the B, and the P lever in the O, B, L, E rows. So they're all the same price based upon the finish categories. So we want to come down the column on the left, find our pricing or our part number, the 11G38, and then we come over to our finish. Our finish is 26D, so that is in the center column. That's $828 list. So we have the price of the base lock itself. Now we need to find the price for the strike, the back set, and the cylinder options. And just like our mortise lock section, our option pricing would be on the page before the lock set. So the lock set's on page BL3. We're going to go to the page before it, BL2. So we look at our first option on the left column. We find our 10. That's signature key system. We come across 61. Then we find the next feature is a 25. That is for our back set. 17. Then we find our strike. Our standard lip strike is no addition. If we wanted an extended lip, we would tell the factory the lip length, and it would be an $11 upcharge. So let's take a look at our pricing. 10 dash, 25 dash, 28 dash. Our 10 dash is $122. Why is it $122 when it says $61? Anybody answer that? It's a double cylinder function. So that 61 would have to be doubled. That's why we get to 122. $17 for the back set, and there's no charge for the strike. That gives us a total list price for that lock set of $967. Let's take a look at another one. We have a cylindrical lock. We're asking for a grade 1 office function with a G rose and an L lever. We want that in our degree level 1 patented key system. 2 3/8 back set, 4 7/8 strike in a polished chrome finish. Let's take a look at that. Part number layout. We know the series was a 10 line. We asked for an office function, correct? That will be an 05, a G05, because it's a keyed function, a guarded latch. Our rose was a G. Our lever was an L. Our finish is a 26. 26 is polished chrome. Our handing, that lock is field reversible. The cylinder, we're asking for a degree. Degree 1, level 1 is our patented key system. Our back set is 2 3/4. It's default, unless you ask for something else. We wanted a 4 7/8 strike, so I'm going to beat you guys to death with that, right? That's a 28 dash. So our part number would be a DG1-28-10G05 GL 26 left hand. Now that we have that part number, we could jump into our price book and start pricing it up. We're going back to our board lock section. I believe that's BL17. BL17 at the top of the page, it will tell you the L, B, and P lever are priced the same. The G and the L roses are priced the same based on the category of pricing finishes. So we'll come down the left-hand column and we'll find our function of the lock, 10G05, which is an entry/option. We come across that row until we get to the far right column, which has our pricing for our 26 finish, which is $696. So our base lock is $696. And again, the ease of the Sargent price book, you're going to look at the options on the previous page. And if you're opening that price book, that previous page will be on your left and your lock pricing will be on your right. Every section of the price book is laid out about that's the same. So we go to BL16 and let's take a look at some options. Our first one will be our 28 dash. No addition. We don't charge you for it unless you order it by itself. Now let's take a look at our degree. This is probably the best unknown thing with our distributors. If we go to our DG1 patented key system, There's no upcharge from our standard cylinders. Now, the beauty of that is for the end user gets a patent protection on that key blank, meaning it's not sold through locksmith channels. It's not sold at Lowe's and Home Depot. There are patents that protect that key blank from being duplicated by a third-party vendor. If you do a standard LA keyway, there's no patent protection. So you could go into a kiosk at Home Depot. Even if that key said do not duplicate and you stick it in their machine, that machine doesn't know whether you're saying do not duplicate or not. So you could get a copy of that made. The Schlage C keyway, the Corbin Russwin 60 keyway, any of those open keyways that have been around for a long time can be duplicated. This gives the owner a bit of protection. Imagine a school district where a teacher went out and made a bunch of copies of the key to their room. And you have no idea who has a key to that. They gave it out to a bunch of different people. Or in schools, the coaches, every different coach, every different season, you give them a key, they go out and get a key copy, they hand their key back to you at the end of the season, but they're still carrying a copy of that key. So a patent protected key helps that. So looking at the options, there is no charge for each option, so still $696 list price for that lock. So let's take a look at a grade 2. A grade 2 privacy function lock set. We want a P lever, and we're asking for a split finish. Somebody asked about split finishes, and I'll show you how we write it. Let's take a look at the series. It's a grade 2 lock. Do we make more than one grade 2 lock? We sure do. So it's either going to be a 7-line or a 6500. It's a privacy function, so it's an unguarded latch. So that's a 7U or a 65U, 65. Our rose is an L rose for the 7-line or a K for the 6500. The lever, it's a P lever for both of them. The finish, you would specify the outside finish first by the inside finish. So this is a 3 by 26. That tells us that the outside is going to be polished brass US3 and the interior is polished chrome 26. Now the reason for that is if you think about restrooms, sometimes the fixtures inside the restroom will be chrome and you would want the hardware on the inside to match the fixtures inside the room. So to get that, you would definitely want to specify your handing. That way, we know if it's a right hand in-swing door, the outside lever, the outside rose will be the brass, but everything that faces the inside, the strike, the latch bolt, the screws, would all be the brushed chrome. Or I'm sorry, the polished chrome. If it's reverse bevel, it would be the exact opposite. The latch bolt would be polished brass and the screws would be brass and the inside product would be different. So that's why we ask for a handing on those. The back set, 2 3/4 default. Our strike, we didn't ask, so we're getting our number 800, which is the 2 3/4 T strike. That's the default strike. So how would that look on paper? 70 U65 LP by the hand, 03 by 26. Or the 65 U65 KP by the hand, 03 by 26. So to price them, we're going to price both of them and we can see what the difference, roughly between our 7-line and our 65 is and why you'd use one versus the other. So let's take a look in our board lock section. I believe it's BL29. BL29 shows us that our L rose and our L, B, and P lever are all priced the same based on the finish categories. So we come down to our non-keyed functions, our 7U65. We come across, how do we know whether to price it as a polished chrome or a polished brass? At the very bottom, there's a note that says split finishes are available, price as the higher finish. Order outside and inside handing must be specified. Strike and latch front will match the inside finish for in-swing doors and the outside finish for outswing doors. That's why we need the handing. So we look, and this one happens to have the 03 and the 26 in the same column, so it is $256 list price. There were no options for that lock, so it will come standard, 2 3/4 back set with the T-strike. $256 is our list price for that lock. Let's take a look at the 65. 65U65 is on page BL36. And we look at the notes on here. Same thing. Come down to our column for the price. Split finishes are available. That's going to add a longer lead time. And the lever that we asked for, the P, there's a note that says expect longer lead times for split finishes and the KB and KP trims. Come across. $236 is our list price. So that saves list price of about $20 per lock. You multiply that out by a bunch of locks, that can save you a few dollars. All right, everyone, welcome back to the second half of part 2 of our Sargent Distributor training. I did see a question pop up in the meantime regarding cylindrical locks. How do you specify door thickness? With the standard lock, specifically the 10 line, it comes adjustable between 1 3/4 inches up to a 2-inch thick door. If you want an 1 3/8 adapter, that is a 1-. If there's anything different than that, I would recommend reaching out to technical product support and give them the details, the information on exactly what you need. But those are the standards. It's 1 3/4 to 2-inch standard adjustability on the lock. 1- is for an 1 3/8 adapter. If there's no other questions on cylindrical locks, let's go ahead and jump into Sargent's cylinders and cores. We're going to go through all of the product offerings, overview, as well as getting into ordering key systems. So Sargent has quite a few different products designed for a variety of type of projects. We have 5 different families of key cylinders: standard, signature, XC, KESO, and degree. 70 standard keyways available in both what we call simplex as well as multiplex configurations. We will talk about what that means. We're going to talk about some restricted keyways that are available. It's a geographically restricted type situation. We'll talk about the security and the high security product as we jump into the keyway families. So like everything else, Sargent, everything is broken down into a part number scheme, where you'll start with your options, key system prefix, things like that, then your cylinder type, then your length, the number of pins, then your keyway, your cam, if it's anything different than normal, then your finish, and then for master key jobs, your key set would be then listed there as well. So let's jump into the products themselves. When we look at the mortise cylinders from Sargent, that is the 40 series. And when you start out as a 40, that is a 1-inch long cylinder. And we're talking about from the back of the face to the end of the cylinder, the part that screws into the housing. That is a 1 inch. As the second digit goes up from a 0 to a 1, that increases the length of the cylinder by 1/8 of an inch. So a 2 would be then 1.25 inches. A 43 would be 1 3/8 inches, and so on and so on. They all come with the standard Sargent offset cam that's designed to work in all of their mortise locks and some other configurations as well. We do have a thumb turn cylinder available from Sargent. That's the 124 series. So instead of putting a key in, there'll always be a thumb turn there to operate. It's available with 6 or 7 pin, and we're talking about how many pinning chambers exist. Sargent does offer this in some competitive keyways as well. 11 standard architectural finishes as well as custom finishes. And here's a little deeper dive on what we were talking about with the cylinder length. As you can see, as that number goes up, you're adding 1/8 of an inch to the length of the cylinder, which is dimension X here on the bottom left. Dimension X, that's the length of the cylinder itself. And we're going to get into some of these other options, these disposable plastic cores in large format and small format as we move forward. Let's take a look at the rim cylinders. Sargent's rim cylinder is their 34 series, available 6 or 7. We can do competitor skiways, same finishes as we can do with the mortise locks. Where do you use a rim cylinder versus a mortise cylinder? That would depend on the application of the type of product. This would be used on a rim mounted type lock, on a night latch function exit device that is a rim type mount. The normal exit device trim for the ETL trims is a mortise type, but the rim type is used in some other applications as well. And again, you'll need to coordinate the tailpiece, the configuration, whether it's horizontal or vertical. If you notice, the screws are designed to be broken. If you need a shorter screw, you can just break off a segment of the screw. The standard tailpiece comes breakaway as well. Somebody asked on the number 56, is that for an escutcheon? Well, that would be more for a special application. If we look at that 56, that's a 3-inch long cylinder. So say you had a door that maybe had a overlay on the face, or a very thick door, and that mortise lock would be offset perhaps to the inside for some reason. Again, that is used in special application. The normal escutcheon would not require anything that thick. And if you're ordering the lock with the cylinder complete, you're going to get the proper length of cylinder for your escutcheon. Good question. Our component cylinders, those are our C series. Those are designed for our key and knob, key and lever, some of our padlocks, some of our tubular deadlocks, things like that. Comes standard as a 6-pin. 5-pin is optional. And the application for these would be based on the lock model. And we offer that in basically 2 finishes, a chrome and a brass finish, so that it will complement the lever to the outside. So here's what those models look like. Our C10 would be for our 10 line, our 7 line, our 65 and our 7500 series locks. Our C8 would be for our old 8 line and our 9 line. Our C11 is for our 11 line. We have a mailbox type cylinder that's built out of that component that will work with some of the mailbox manufacturers as well. The 6 line is a C6, and our deadbolts are C480 or C460 series. Again, they're all designed very similar, but you'll notice that the tailpiece on the end is different based on the application, based on where and how it's being used. Getting into interchangeable core, we're going to talk about the Sargent large format interchangeable core. That is our 6300 or our 63 dash. If you're buying the core by itself, it's a 6300. 63 dash would be a prefix to the cylinder itself. 6 or 7 pin availability. You can buy it from us unassembled as a 65 dash option, which you would then add your own pins and springs to it. We can also do this what we call one-bitted, which gives you a flat blank key and top and bottom pins and springs. We can offer this as a temporary core as well, either keyed or disposable. We'll talk about those numbers here in a minute. The 7300 is a core only. Small format, which is the universal Falcon Best Aero style small format interchangeable core. We can do that in 6 or 7 pin with our XC series keying, in Sargent 4A and 4B keyway. We also offer this in 12 best keyways as well. The unassembled core would be a 65 option. We can do it in one-bitted as well for field keying. We can also do the temporary and disposable core options. So let's take a look at our interchangeable core cylinders themselves. Our Mortise would be a 63-40 series. That gets you a complete cylinder with a large format core in it. If you wanted it as a temporary with disposable plastic core, that would be a 60-40 series. If you wanted a temporary construction keyed cylinder, which is an interchangeable core that you use a control key to pull out and replace with the permanent keying, that's a 64 dash. We offer that in lengths from 1 1/4 to 1 3/4. With our standard offset cam, there are other cams available. 6 or 7 pin. Again, 6 pin is standard. And we'll talk about why we would use a 6 pin system versus a 7 pin system here in a little bit when we start talking about keying. Our 73-40, that is our small format system. And the 70 dash is for the housing with a disposable plastic core. The 72 option is for a temporary keyed cylinder. That again, the temporary cylinders would be removed with a control key and then returned back to Sargent for credit, and you would order the final cylinders themselves, the final cores themselves. 4 links available from 1 1/4 to 1 3/4. 7P would be the option for 7 pin. Offer that in 8 standard finishes. Likewise, we have the 63-34, which is the large format interchangeable core rim. The 60 dash is for disposable. The 64 dash is construction cylinders. 73-34, the same thing. 70 dash for the housing. 72 dash for temporary keyed. If you want to buy the cores themselves, here are the temporary construction cores. For our large format, you will see they are all brass faced, and there is a dimple in the face of the plug. That dimple shows that it is a temporary core. That is something that would be used to secure the facility during construction that would keep people out. The 72 series has a blue face. That shows you that that is a temporary core that would need to be returned back to the factory. And on the right, we're showing you the 2 different options, the large format temporary plastic disposable core, and the small format is right below it. Again, you'd use those in situations where interior spaces where the door needs to close and latch, but it doesn't necessarily need to be secure. When you're mission critical areas, you would use those temporary keyed cores and then return them back to the factory. So those are your options there. The 64 dash is a large format temporary core. 72 dash would be small format temporary core. The 60 dash would be large format disposable. 70 dash option would be small format disposable. Let's take a look at some other keying options that we can do. during construction. If you're doing a conventional or fixed core system, you may still want to have construction keying on those jobs as well. That would be our 21 series or 21 dash construction master keying, which is what we call our lost ball system. So there would be a key that the contractor could use during the construction phase that would allow the contractor to lock his building, to gain access with a key, keep people out of it. At the end of the job, the permanent cylinder, the change key, once it's entered into and turned, those balls, the lost balls, end up in a receiver inside of the plug of the cylinder. And once that is turned and the balls fall out of position, then the construction key is now voided and the owner's permanent key is now the operating key. That's convenient to allow an owner to have their keys, and as soon as they turn over and operate that, nothing needs to be taken apart, nothing needs to be taken out. The contractor can no longer get into the building. The downside to it is it needs to be planned in the inception of the system. And distributors, you have to order that keying at the same time as you order all the locks and everything else in the early phases of the job, which means you have to do your keying meeting very early, have that information well ahead of time. And we know in the real world, what happens is keying is probably one of the last things that gets done on a job. It's sometimes, hopefully not, but sometimes it's an afterthought. So know that if you use this lost ball, it does affect how many change keys you can have in the key system. You could lose 40% of your theoretical change keys by using this method. So there's good and there's bad to it. Sargent also has what they call a split key construction master keying system, which is exactly how it sounds. You would have a key that was about half the length. And from the factory, the other half of that key is inserted into the plug, and the contractor uses that little stubby key during construction. At the end of the construction phase, you have to use a special retriever to pull out the half key. And once you pull out that half key, the contractor's key will no longer work. It can be worrisome. It can be trouble. It's not an easy thing to do, to get that split key out easily, because the pins and the springs in the cylinder fight you a little bit. We offer that only on existing systems where it exists now. We will not do a new key system with the split key. Everything would be the ball method. So know that that gives you a way to secure the job site during construction. For fixed core, we have the construction master keying 21 dash. For interchangeable core, we have the temporary and disposable cores for your options. So let's take a look at some other keying options. Hotel function. Again, this is used in a hotel function type lock set, where when you lock from the inside, the change key and the master key will not operate on the outside. You can't get in. You have to use an emergency master key to enter from the outside. Now, this was very popular back in those days when hotels used a key. If you were in there and you didn't want the maintenance people or the maids to come in while you were there, you could turn on the inside and lock out those other keys. But they do have that emergency master key that would allow you to gain access in an emergency. Say, you were supposed to check out on Tuesday and it's Friday and they haven't heard from you and your door's locked. That point, they would use that. Now, most hotels have gone away from conventional keying. And this actually works really, really well in schools, for teacher restrooms in public spaces. Imagine you had a teacher bathroom along the hallway. If you put a privacy set on it, that doesn't give you a whole lot of privacy, right? You don't want students going in there, so you'd have that key on the outside, hotel function. So if a teacher was in there using the facilities, then no one else could access that with their key. You'd have to have the emergency key to get in. So it's called hotel function, but it doesn't really operate in the hotel arena much anymore. But that's the name it's been called forever, so we keep it at that. Another option, a concealed head mortise cylinder. Only the plug of the cylinder is exposed through the special escutcheon. And again, that's a security thing that keeps you from being able to get a wrench on the face of the cylinder and try to crank it out of the mortise lock. So that plug only shows 6 or 7 pin, come with a standard 2 plug finishes, and know it exists. I don't sell a lot of them, but I can see applications in certain public spaces where you might want that for security reasons. That's our 78 dash option. Right, I had talked about bump resistant. Okay, a few years ago, there was a craze on YouTube where people showed how easy it was to take a specially pinned or specially cut key and insert it into a cylinder and then tap on it with a mallet while you were maneuvering the plug. And sometimes you could pop the pins up and the springs would allow that to happen, and you would create a shear line being able to get into the lock set. So because of that clamor, a lot of manufacturers had to come up with what we call bump resistant pinnings. There are special design pins that are used, and sometimes they could be what they call a spooled pin, where there are grooves cut into the pin. Sometimes they look like a spindle to a sewing machine where there's a cut into it. And the idea behind that is it creates false shear lines and it makes it harder to bump pick the cylinder. We do make a pinning kit. Sargent has a patent pending. It's called a 437 BR. If you want to retrofit some of your existing locks to bump resistant pins. Again, that was a lot of hype on social media and on YouTube, but you would still have to have a special key in order to bump pick a lock. Just know it's something that that was a concern, and Sargent addressed it. Stamping. You can have special numbers, special identifiers stamped into the key. What we're showing you on the top right is the typical stamping that comes from the factory, where it will show you the keyway in the top left of that. There's an LA keyway. There's the system number, LO27512. That is the key system number. And then a symbol to identify its factory cut. It will have the little Sargent, the little chevrons on the key. That tells you it's a factory cut key. If it doesn't have the chevrons, it wasn't cut by us. And then the example on the key set. If you want the key set stamped on it, we can do that. We have what we call visual key control, as well as concealed key control. We can put biddings, we can put key set symbols, we can put blind code symbols, whatever you tell us you want stamped on there. On the cylinder, we can do visual key control right on the face of the cylinder. The mortise cylinder that I'm showing you there has AA1 stamped right into the face of the plug. May not be good if you have that same number stamped on the key, because if the key gets lost, you know exactly where to go to unlock that door. So we can do it concealed. The component cylinder that I'm showing you has that AA1 stamped in a concealed location where you'd have to take the lock apart in order to access that information. Other options, we can give you blank keys with nothing stamped on them at your request. We can do the custom die stamping that we talked about, where you would send your customer's logo in, and for a price, they will make a special coining die. So every time you ordered key blanks, every time that you ordered key blanks, they would be stamped into the face of that. Let's talk about the keyways and key systems, what we can do. some good ideas, some bad ideas. Okay? Our conventional keyways. With Sargent, our standard stock keyways are our L series family. If you don't tell us, you're going to get the L4 keyway. And it's convenient. Sargent has them. They're available through QuickShip. The downside to it is third parties also have it. There is no patent life on our open sales conventional keyways. So that means that Ilco or Lori or somebody like that could manufacture any one of those keyways. And you'll see sometimes in the common keyways, they will offer those. For contract projects, we have our H and our R series family. We also have our hotel C family keyway that's used sometimes. Know that it exists. When I'm talking about keyway families, let's take a look. Okay, multiplex keys. If you look at the bottom of the chart here on the right, you will see 9 different circles, and those circles each represent a different keyway available. Again, the LA is our common keyway. There's an LB, an LC, E, F, G, J, K, and L. So you could get any one of those individual keyways, and they belong to a family of keys that could theoretically operate them. If you look above those circles, each one of those circles has a key that is designed for that keyway. Above that, they go to a multi-section key blank. So if we're looking at the LA, the LB, and the LC, there is an LD key blank that will enter and operate them. You go to the center, the LE, the LF, and the LG have their own individual keys, but the LH operates that. And likewise with the ones on the right, the LM operates the LJ, the LK, and the LL. So where this comes in handy, when we start looking at master keying, a normal 6-pin cylinder done with Sargent's 2-step keying will allow a possibility of 4,096 changes. That's theoretical. Now, what's going to happen is some of those won't be able to be used due to deep cuts and maximum adjacent cut violations, which we'll talk about when we get to keying specifications. But this would allow you on large systems to put different buildings within a school district on a separate keyway. And if you look at the very, very, very top of the pin, the very, very top of the pendulum, the LN key blank could enter and operate every one of those 9 keyways underneath it. So imagine that if you had a large school district or a large hospital where you could reuse the pinning specifications in different schools under a different keyway. Again, that's how we get into those large key systems. And again, if you want to learn more information about that, about master keying, I suggest you take one of our master keying classes. We do basic brand master keying 1-day classes available throughout different spots in the country. If you want to learn to do that, they are available. So if you look in our L series family, there are 9 keyways. In our H series, there's 9 keyways. In our R, there are 9. In our C, there are 9. We also offer what's called a simplex keyway, and R, S, U, and CR. What that means is there's only one key that can possibly enter that cylinder. There is not a family like the 9 keyways in each family above, which gives you a unique keyway that you don't have to worry about other keys possibly entering. The downside to a multiplex keyway and the convenience things is sometimes the locksmiths that that serve as Sargent, instead of stocking 9 different keyways in the L family, they might stock 3 different, the LD, the LH, and the LM. That way it'll work each one of them underneath it. The worst world, it would be if they stock the LN, which would work all of them. The problem is to allow a key to enter that many different broachings in those different keyways, that LN key would be much thinner than the LA key. So we try to dissuade, but it does happen from time to time, unfortunately. So that's our standard keyway systems. We do have some restricted keyways. Sargent has the A, B, G, K, N, and V family as a restricted. And what that does, it gives the owner a little bit of protection. While it's not a patented key, we do not sell the key blanks through wholesale distribution. The keyways are geographically protected. So there's going to be miles and miles between your facility and another facility with a restricted keyway. Again, it's not patented. That doesn't mean that Ilco or Lori couldn't make that. But if you look at the economy of scale, some of those third-party key blank manufacturers wouldn't invest a lot of money into something if there was not that many systems out there. There's no return on that investment for them. So that's the restricted keyway. It's not a patented keyway, it is restricted. Okay. Our pinning system, the way we key each chamber, we have 10 different depths of bottom pins. And our shallowest pin is a number 1. Our deepest pin is a number 10. And each space between it is a 20,000th of a thickness. And if anyone is familiar with keying specifications, that means that we have to go 2 pin depths between each. It's called a 2-step progression, which gives you less possible change keys when you compare that to a single step. Looking at Sargent, because of the thickness of their pins, their standard thickness is a 20,000th, which means you have to use 2 pin spacing. So it's a 2-step master key progression. And in a 2-step master key progression, you have 4,096 theoretical changes under a master key. Now, as you add masters, you'll decrease changes. As you add changes, you decrease the amount of masters you can add. It's like a rubber band, it stretches both ways. Again, this is getting deep into the pinning specifications for some people. I just want you to have a basic overview of it. So let's take a look at Sargent cylinders. This is our cylinder continuum. On the left, you'll see the legacy type products from Sargent at the bottom left. Those are our standard open keyway families where a lot of those blanks can be acquired. There's no patent protection on them. We have our XC patented keyway, which protects the keys from duplication as well as having an additional locking feature. We have our signature key system as well as our KeySo. They both have additional protection against picking. And our UL 437, our UL KeySo F1, would be our UL 437 attack, drill, and pick resistant. Going to the right side of that spectrum, it shows you our newest patented key system available from Sargent, where we do not have an open legacy type keyway available. We start out with our DG1 family. Our DG1 is patent protected, which means that we don't sell aftermarket key blanks. It has to be gotten through channels. Distributors could only stock certain key blanks at the discretion of their customer with authorization from their customer. The DG2 gives you an additional locking bar, as well as a different type of pin cylinder. They are angled. You have a left, right, and a center pin in those. DG3 is our UL 437, where you have attack, drill, and the pick resistance. We'll talk about each one of these in a little bit more depth, but the patent on the degree products is in force till 2027. Everything on the left-hand side, the KeySo still has patent protection, and the XC has patent protection. The patents have run out on the signature. So let's take a look at the individual products. Our XC series cylinders, which is a 11 dash option, that adds a little bit of a patent protection as well as a locking side pin with a specially milled key. So what we're showing you in the bottom right is the key itself and the groove cut into the key, which has to correspond with a locking pin on the side. Now this is available with our L and R series family of keyways. It might be able to be backwards compatible into existing systems. It uses the same standard pinning specifications as our standard locking with the top and bottom pins. And we can do small format interchangeable core with our SARGENT 4A and 4B keyways. So this gives you a little extra protection. You could possibly use a conventional system on the interior of a building and do the XC on the exterior, giving you a little bit of extra protection. Our signature key system is available for existing systems only. We have decided to put this into a protected class. We will not be building new signature systems, only existing. That is a 10 dash. And again, that keyway adds blocking bars and additional shear lines. If you look at the key on the left, it has these dimples, and that would be specific to an end user. Each end user would have their own side milling patterns there for that. That would work with the blocking bar that's designed. And what that would do is it would work in the L series family of keyways as well as the R family. And the blocking pin prevents you from being able to even insert a standard key into there, which again, it's a high-low system. You could have signature on your mission critical areas. The signature key in an L series family would operate the standard, but the standard would not operate the signature. Know that we have that. And we can do that in our security as well, which gives you the pick resistance. Our KESO and our KESO F1 is a proprietary key system, proprietary to Sargent only, and that gives you 12 pins across 3 rows on 3 different axes. So if you look at the key, it's a 6-sided key, and it's reversible from one side to the other, so you can put it in upside down and it will still operate. It makes it very, very difficult to pick. It's very highly pick resistant. Being that there are 12 pins, that gives you some expansion on your master key system. We can give you a UL 437 version of that. That would be the KESO F1 UL. We still offer our standard conventional KESO. The conventional KESO did lose its patent, so we come out with a newer version, the KESO F1, which added some additional features to the construction of the cylinder and the key, which allowed us to get a extended patent life on that. This is not serviceable in the field. We do not sell parts for this. It has to be factory ordered, factory pinned. Again, we still see a lot of these out in the world. We do an interchangeable core, but not in your typical interchangeable core snowman footprint. It is entirely different from your normal interchangeable core, but we do offer it as a convenience feature for our customers. Getting to our degree system. Our degree system is our top of the line patented system. We have 8 different keyways that live in the degree family. It is patented through 2027. And what we give is an option for a customer. There are 3 different levels of security at 3 different price points. And at our DG2 and DG3, we're saying that we have a lot more pinning capabilities with that because of the angled pins. This is a different specification than the standard The pin thickness is 0.030, 30 thousandths instead of a 20 thousandths, which means we can do a single step progression with this versus a two-step progression, which allows you a little over 15,000 possible changes under a master, theoretical. We do offer some geographic exclusivity with the security and the high security, the DG2 and the DG3. These are field serviceable. They can be keyed in the field if you have the right pin kit. If you have the right key cutting equipment, you can actually cut these, but you have to have a machine that is capable of cutting angled pins. So the pin specifications change slightly between the DG1 to the DG2 and 3. Again, we're going from a standard conical pin to an angled pin at the DG2 and DG3. So some of the features, the DG1 gives you a patented key blank, meaning we don't sell them anywhere aftermarket. They can't be purchased. It is a utility patent through 2027. The DG2 gives us a sidebar alignment, another locking point here, as well as angled bottom pins. So your key would have to be cut left, right, or center to properly match the pin to make the lock actually operate. The DG3 is our high security UL 437, which resists picking and drilling. It's got hardened steel pins that are drill resistant, and there are some internal features in the cylinder housing itself that keeps it from drill and attack. And the nice thing about this is there are paperwork procedures, but there are certain procedures that an owner can opt out of for authorizations. I don't want to have to write a letter of authorization every time I want to purchase key blanks. So you can do a blanket authorization in the beginning and allow a certain distributor to be able to do that. So it's kind of a unique product. The neat thing about it, it is backwards compatible from DG3 backwards. So again, your mission critical areas, your attack prone areas, you could put the DG3 and you could put the DG2 in other areas, the DG1 on your interior areas where it's not as mission critical. The DG3 key will enter and operate the DG2 and the DG1 if pinned properly. However, the DG1 cannot go up. The DG2 cannot go up to a 3, but you can go from higher down to lower. So it gives the owner the possibility of doing a lot of expansion. We get asked, can I start a customer on a DG1 system and can they upgrade later? Well, it can be done, but it has to be planned from inception, from the beginning. You have to ask for that when you're designing the system. So that's Sargent's key systems, and how you would add that is just that modifier option, these option prefixes to the base cylinder. So the 10- for signature, the 11- for XC, DG1, DG2, DG3. 63- is large format interchangeable core. The KISO F182. LC, less cylinder. You wouldn't order a cylinder, less cylinder, now would you? Because you get nothing. But know that you have these options. And yes, you can do interchangeable core signature. So you would have the 10-63. You can do degree with the large format interchangeable core, DG1, 63. You can mix and match and add, as necessary, but you can't go through multiple key systems. You couldn't have a signature XC system that doesn't exist. Again, let's take a look at the schema here. The options are all prefixed, then the cylinder type, then the length if applicable, how many pins, keyway, cam, finish, key set. Any questions on the cylinders themselves? If not, I'm going to continue on. We're going to walk through how to order a keyed order, a key system from Sargent. Okay. We know that ordering key systems can be complicated, but in order for Sargent to provide a proper thing, we have to confirm a few things. We have to make sure that the information is correct and complete. We're going to even walk you through the forms that you use to order. And bear in mind, all information has to be received before the order can be released to manufacturing. What we're showing you at the bottom here is our basically flow chart showing you what we call change keys and the master keys and the grandmaster keys above it. We're going to get further into that here in a minute, but we want to start with what is keying. You basically have a component, the shell, which is the mortise housing, or the component housing, or the rim housing, and in each shell there are chambers, and those chambers house the pins. Inside the shell you would have your springs that push down the top pin into the plug. The plug is the part of the cylinder that you put the key into and turn. And you would have to provide a key that is cut properly to make the pins line up at the very top of the plug, creating a shear line. So the proper key inserted will allow you to turn the plug and unlock the opening. Let's take a look at a video that explains it much better than I did. Here's a cutaway version. You see the springs, the top pins, and the bottom pins. You see the housing below it, you see the plug, and then you see the key. We're going to put it all back together and cut it down the middle here. So you see the inner workings of the part. So when we put our change key in, we line up all those pins so that they're even, and it creates what they call a shear line. When you create that shear line, you can then turn the key, operate the cylinder. If you did not have the proper cut change key, the pins would not line up and give you a shear line. That's basically how a cylinder works. This design has been around for centuries. This version, the pin tumbler mortise cylinder, as we're showing you here, was patented by Linus Yale in 1864. That design, and has been the same basic design with every manufacturer ever since. So again, this is Sargent's pinning calculation, where we have our bottom pins. We have 10 different spacings, 1 being our shallowest, and 10, which is written as a 0, is our deepest cut. And then we have top and master pins from a size 2 up to a size 14. And we use those stacked to allow multiple keys to enter. So the most secure cylinder would be a single keyed differently. 1 key operating 1 cylinder and nothing else operating either. So that doesn't normally work if you have a large facility. They might want the option to be able to have 1 key that operates every door underneath it, a master key. That is done for convenience, and that affects security, because what happens is we create additional shear lines in that cylinder, which gives the possibility of other keys possibly entering and operating that cylinder. So a properly factory designed system tries to help avoid that, but there can be mistakes made. I know when I was in distribution, I have pinned up systems where it probably would not be proper in Sargent's eyes. They probably would scoff at what I did, but we will try to teach you how to do it the right way. So what we're looking at here is taking those individual doors and having 1 key operate them. So what we're showing you is a 2-level master key system where you have 3 openings. And each one of those openings is keyed different from each other. 1AA, 2AA, 3AA. But we want our master key to be able to operate all three of those. So what we're showing you in that hierarchy, our master key is AA, our change number 1, 2, and 3 under AA, meaning 1AA only works 1AA, 2AA only works 2AA, 3AA only works 3AA, but AA operates all three of them. That's what we call a two-level master key system. That's a simple. And when you're ordering, you need to pay attention to what happens if we go from a master key to a grand master key. Watch what happens to the change key designations, because this can trip you up. Here's what we call a three-level system, where we have our AA system, where we had our master key, AA. Look at the change keys underneath. It went from 1AA to AA1. Now we know there are multiple levels above that. So that AA1 is keyed to itself, AA2, AA3. Master key AA operates that, everything below it. And then above that, we have Grandmaster key A. Grandmaster key A operates all of the master keys below it and all of the change keys then below it. So the more levels of keying we add, the less secure the system becomes. Now, what we're showing you here as this Grandmaster key system, we have three separate masters underneath it. We have Master AA, Master AB, Master AC. AA, AB, and AC cannot operate each other, but A can operate all of them. So everything above operates what's below it. But note, the change key designation now has the number at the end instead of at the beginning. If it's a two-level system, the number's first. If it's a three-level system, the number is at the end. Let's take a look at how that looks here. So there's our change key. We insert our change key. Notice the gold pins. We have a shear line there for the change key. Here's our master key inserted. Notice the position of the gold pins. It's a different shear line. Look at our Grandmaster key. Note the position of the gold pins. We have a third set of shear lines. So this is done for convenience of the owner. But every shear line we create makes that lock easier to pick in standard keying. So let's take a look at key systems ordering here. Again, we're begging you. We have to add complete information. Call for assistance. Ask us for help. Reach out to your DSS rep. DSS reps, reach out to the key systems people in your organization. Reach out to the key specialists at Sargent. That's what they're there for. It's a team effort. We all have to be pulling in the same direction for this to work. The biggest thing is make no assumptions. Don't assume that we understand what you're asking. Okay? We're going to talk about, who's responsible for what here. Let's go to the key records department. Okay, the key records department does the processing of the factory keyed orders. They will transmit that information to the plant along with your order. They will maintain and manage the customer's key records. They'll give all that information to our reps and our customers as requested. They design the system. They can build new systems from the ground up based on the parameters that are given to them in the system inception. The important thing is the key records. And somebody asked, can we field pin a system that Sargent develops? Yes, they will. But again, the coordination needs to be there. If you're expanding a system and you're using, change keys AA7 through AA10. You have to let Sargent know that so they can block those out. Because God forbid somebody comes and wants to place another order and Sargent doesn't know that those changes were used up, you could have key duplication. So the best case scenario is to, factory order the key system, but we know it doesn't always, can't always happen. So maintaining that relationship, that information has to get to key records so they can update the master files. Okay, the lead times, again, they're calculated from the date all questions are answered. Can't send an order and say keying information to follow because nothing will be processed. What's the customer responsible for? Well, we want you to, know compatibility with the key system, how to use the key symbols. What we recommend is the standard BHMA, DHI, blind code format. That's what I showed you with the Grandmaster A, and then the masters underneath it, AA, AB, AC, and then the changes underneath it, AA1, AB1, AC1. They will accept other formats as long as it's legible, but we recommend that you follow the DHI method. Key symbols, that makes life a whole lot easier. We don't want you to send a spreadsheet in with people's names and say, well, Mary has to have access to all these doors. Well, we always say key the building, not the person, because the person could change. Mary might have access to every door in the building, and then when Mary leaves, moves on, Mary's replacement may not need access to all those spots. So we try to walk through and key to the building needs. And if an owner has to carry 2 keys to accommodate those needs, it's better for security. Okay, what forms? Use the authorization forms, the keying lead sheets that we're going to show you. The manual order forms are actually printed in our price book, so there's no reason that you can't find them. You can go to that digital catalog library that we had discussed earlier today and jump in and find that information. So let's walk through the form and we'll talk about what's required in each step. Okay, we're in the price book, GI, general information, pages 27 and 28. These are the 2 lead sheets that have to be included to effectively process the order. And we'll jump through and look at each individual section. Obviously, the first section is going to be the distributor's name, the job name, the end user, name, address, city, state, zip. City, state, zip is very important because if you come back later and you did the job as 2nd Street Elementary School, and then it changes to Krista McAuliffe Elementary School 3 years down the pike, and you want to do an expansion on that, if you don't know your original purchase order number or you don't know the original registry number, it can cause you grief. So once you fill that out, we want to know system status. Okay. For a new system, there's a system design section that you need to fill out talking about the overall scope of the system. What level, how many, how many masters, how many grandmasters, how many great grandmasters. The bigger you make the system, the more complex it is, the more detail you need to give. We also want to talk about the scope of the system. So right now you're designing it with a grandmaster with 3 masters under it, but we know that they're going to have 3 more master keys in the life of the facility, or 4 more. We tell them we need that and how many changes we anticipate underneath. Sometimes it's a guess, but it has to be our best guesstimate. We can't say just allow for 10% expansion because that doesn't really mean anything. So existing systems, you have to confirm the system and see what is required. Field specified biddings. Again, if an owner has made their own system and they want to send that to us, we will key it. They're going to give us a letter of authorization as well as a letter protecting us from problems arising from their system. If it's an existing system, we need to know the registry number, or the top master key bidding, or a previous sergeant order number. Again, all that information will help us locate. Okay, into existing systems, again, the registry number is very important. That would be on the master keys for the building or the control keys. An example here, R001234, registry number 001234. Now, if the owner has a lockbox with all those keys locked in it, you hopefully will find that original master key. If it's a copy, it probably won't have that on. So we can go with the top master key bidding and keyway, or previous order number. And like I said, city, state, zip. Sometimes we can locate it based on that. But again, if it's a 50-year-old system that has been expanded on multiple times, that coordination with the factory, it might be time to discuss a new key system with the owner rather than expanding on something that may be at the end of its life. Okay. Keying requirements, okay, system design for new systems. Is it going to be a level 2, just a master key system, a level 3, a grandmaster, a level 4, a great grandmaster? And underneath it, how many change keys per master? How many master keys per grandmaster? How many grandmasters per great grandmaster? And sometimes you think, it'd be awesome to put this great grandmaster system together. It doesn't necessarily need to be that complex. We always use what we call the KISS method. Keep it simple. The easiest, simplest key systems are the ones that last the longest. The complicated ones where you have a bunch of specialty things going on, that's where we get into problems. Keying notes. We ask you to include a sheet with detailed extra notes for cross-keying or any complex instructions. Okay, we do not care for cross-keying. And what we're talking about cross-keying is when you have multiple change keys, as well as possibly multiple masters that will operate a cylinder. Because the more keys you design to operate a cylinder, the less secure it is. When you do cross-keying, it's for convenience. It is not security. And if you remind an owner that they're denigrating the security of the system by doing multiple doors with cross-keying, it is a problem. Cross-keying also cuts down on the number of theoretical change keys that you can do in a system. There are two different types of cross-keying. We have what's called controlled and uncontrolled cross-keying. Controlled cross-keying would be cross-keying under its own master. Uncontrolled would be having multiple masters operate in a cylinder. That's uncontrolled. That creates havoc for the key system. Again, special instructions, include them. We do not read minds. They can't assume that we understand what you're intending. Right, moving forward. Keyways, pre-existing conditions and authorization. If it's a special customer specified keyway, you have to tell us that. If it's restricted, you're going to have to do a letter of authorization from the owner and have it pre-approved from Key Records. If it's signature or degree or KEYSO, there are special authorization letters that need to be filled out and supplied. You have to have them. And the little check mark will show you, yes, I included it. No, I didn't include it. And especially if the order is not shipping direct to the end user, which most of the time contract projects aren't, then you need a letter of authorization saying, yes, you can ship my locks and cylinders to this distributor or to this job site. Must be signed off. Okay. Again, the keyway selection. Sometimes distributors will decide to do everything in their stock keyway. We stock L4. I want every job keyed L4. That way I can service it. Okay, that's fine. But if you do a bunch of projects, fit outs inside of a multi-tenant building, there's always possibility of key interchange, unwanted key interchange. So just bear that in mind. And again, letters of authorization must be included. Okay. For a field created key system, something that we didn't do at the factory, you have to get with key records. You have to send them that key layout, and they have to look at it and make sure that it is a expandable system, that it will work within our parameters, within our keying rules. And again, we ask for that liability release letter. And the factory can look at it and say, you know what, there's a reason we can't do this. Maybe they're not following the two-step procedure, and that could create problems with the pin thicknesses, with unplanned key interchange, things like that. So if it's something that we feel we can't do, we'll give you a letter and say this is why we can't do it. The customer can do what they want, but we can't be part of it. So a letter of authorization must be requested and pre-approved by key records for new assignments. For the geographical protection, anything requiring letter of authorization to ship to a distributor's office or to an end user, anybody other than the end user, I should say. This is what it looks like. Basically asking, to Sargent, stating we authorize this distributor to obtain the bidding list for our keying system, blah, blah, blah. We authorize them to order the quantities of master keys in our attached purchase order, blah, blah, blah. So having that will allow that to go smooth rather than us having to reach back. Key quantities. When we're looking, how many keys do you want shipped with the lock? How many change keys do you want per lock? Normal is 2. If you want more, you have to tell us. If you're doing interchangeable core, you have to order the control keys. We know you need them, but it has to be an order item. You have to order the control keys. Construction master keys, the same thing. You have to tell us how many you want. How many masters, how many changes, how many grandmasters, et cetera, and so on. And those keying specifications are usually listed in the spec of the job, and this allows you to provide that. Cylinder features. Here's where you decide, is it a signature system? Is it an XC system? We're not going to decide that for you. You're going to decide, and you check what's applicable. Stamping. How do you want the keys stamped? How do you want the cylinder stamped? Cross keying. I was already on the mound here giving the sermon. We do not recommend or encourage cross keying. Certain key systems they will not allow for cross keying. Again, talk to key records. They can give you the parameters. Sometimes it's better to carry 2 keys than to make that door unsecure. Instructions. Where do you want the keys shipped? The change keys, the master keys. They can all go to different locations. If you're doing the Key Wizard software, where do you want that shipped? All of that information needs to be listed. And probably the most important thing, the contact for additional information. Somebody is knowledgeable about the project rather than the purchasing agent. A name, a phone number, a fax if you still use faxes, email address. We can contact that person and ask a question specifically about the keying that doesn't need to be transferred between 3 people. It would be very helpful. Okay, last checklist here. We're coming to the home stretch. Is the existing registry number or order identified? Do we have letters of authorization? Have you told us how you want this system to expand? If you're going into an existing system, is the correct next available change shown? Because if you've already used changes AA1 through AA7, the next change has to be AA8. Key symbols missing, problems. Is all the cross-keying information included? Can it be done? Do you have more than one operating condition with the cross-keying? Again, that uncontrolled thing. Is it a field established system We need that release letter from the owner. If you're using a separate blind code or a non-DHI symbol, have you submitted that as your key sets? Because that could take time. Did you put the quote number on the order? Did you put the contact information on the lead sheets? Did you use our lead sheets? Sometimes a software package will allow you to spit out their digital version, which may or may not work for us. So we give you the forms. Here are some separate forms. The one on the left is for lock sets, broken out by product series, function, key set symbols, as well as handings and door numbers. That way you get the right things printed on your boxes with the right keying. The one in the center is for exit devices that are keyed, same information. The one on the right is for miscellaneous items on the same order. Here are some of the authorization forms that we would use. On the left is our degree system information document. That's when you're starting a new degree system. And then the other two are KESO signature forms. The one is when you're starting the system, and the other one is the signature form when you're ordering parts for the system. Do we have any questions? All right, I'm going to let you go with a minute to spare. The next session is on Thursday morning, same time. Please, in the meantime, reach out if you have any questions. My email address is tom.seidel@asaabloy.com. I'll see you all on Thursday.